Just so that as we have 3 more minutes before the time is really a good time, it's wonderful to be in a country where things are. Do you hear me? I've got to. No? It's wonderful to be in a country where things are on time. So we're even ahead of time with that. So it's great. Just to remind you of the organization of the day. So this morning we will have I wanted the museum to give an introduction about where we are, and also because I think we are. But I'm going to learn things also in a very important place for education in Europe in general. So I'm very happy that the museum accepted to present us a little bit of that. Then we will have a short coffee break, and then we'll have the presentations of the best practice awards, and then we'll have lunch. We'll try to make a nice group photo here, because we try to have that on our sites and we send it around the world. And this afternoon, because you probably already wrote in, that we have workshops organized by the coordinators of the special interest groups. And so you had to choose among the different workshops. And it's always a very intense and interesting moment, because it's a place where you really work with each other and learn from each other. So I think it's a good opportunity. So thank you very much for being there just in time, and I hope you enjoy your day.
Thank you, Marie. Let me welcome you again. I'm Roman Skoda, head of Conceptual, Educational and PR Department of our institution. From 9:30 to 10:30 a.m. we have 2 lectures about history and role of our institution and the legacy of J. Comenius. The first one will be given by the director, Mrs. Dr. Markéta Pánková, and the second one by my colleague Jakub Seiner. Between these lectures, you will be able to watch a short film about life of Comenius. So I ask Mrs. Pánková to give a lecture.
So, dear colleagues, let me take this opportunity to speak something about the National Pedagogical Museum of Comenius in Prague, history and its role in the culture of pedagogical memory. In my opening remarks, I would like to draw your attention, as I told you, to the 130th year history of the National Pedagogical Museum and Library of Comenius in Prague. So, in the year 2022, we also celebrate 430th anniversary of the birthday of John Abel Comenius. You can see a photo in front of our building of museum with a memorial plaque. You can see, and maybe you met in building of the museum with the memorial plaque of Comenius. It's a photo from March because it's the birthday time of Comenius. So every March we prepare some events for support memories of Comenius. I can also remind resolution of the UNESCO. UNESCO General Assembly in 1956 in New Delhi. See text in a photo. It's a very important, this text, to explaining how important is the legacy of Comenius for the world. You can read Comenius was one of the first people to promote the ideas that UNESCO followed at the time of its founding, but attributing education to an important role in improving the fate and culture of human society. He brought the original idea of universal and adult education. He was an advocate of the idea of cooperation and peace organization among the world, and was therefore one of the authorities to which the United Nations referred at the time of its founding. Let me briefly highlight a few historical moments in the development of an important institution, National Pedagogical Museum and Library of Comenius. Today, our institution is a scientific institution dealing with the history of education and teaching in relation to the legacy of Comenius. It is the central institution and the only pedagogical museum in the Czech Republic under the Ministry of Education, Youth and Sport. A number of publications and articles have been published on the history of the museum. If you look for the beginning of the Prague Pedagogical Museum with the name of Comenius, we go back to the 1892, when the Czech Society of the time signed up for the 300th anniversary of the birth of Comenius. In the jubilee year of Komensky, the objects of the Komensky Museum also became the core of the great exhibition of Komensky in Prague. The Prague Committee for the Celebration of Comenius, which at the time was expanded to include representatives of all categories of school and scientific, artistic, and student associations, allowed the museum to raise significant funds to purchase books and various school items. The history of museums we can read in the Diary of Comenius Museum from 1893. You can see a photo, title, and also it's very, but yeah. It's the first sheet of the diary of the Comenius Museum, mapping the idea of establishing a museum in 1889. You know that it must be preparing time, not only 1892 to come. Yeah. And then you can see list of first donation recorded in the diary of the Comenius Museum. Within the Czech land of the Austro-Hungarian monarchy, until 1918, we are in a period associated with process of active national self-consciousness over modernization, industrialization, and urbanization of society. It is obvious that the issues of schooling education, modern forms of education, and the process of professionalization of the teaching profession played a fundamental role in this social process. If we analyze the process of teacher professionalization at the turn of the 19th and 20th centuries, we find strong efforts to promote the higher education of teachers, to link the rapidly developing modern pedagogical science with the reform of school education to formulate a professional code and to gain the acceptance of teaching in the wider political, social, and professional community. All of this presupposed the activity, associational and professional activities of the teaching profession, which the Comenius Museum was supposed to represent. The Comenius Pedagogical Museum was founded by Prague teachers who were closely connected with university professors, of course, professional pedagogical societies, and teachers' association, and we can say more and more, and others. And I can show you head of the teachers who founded the museum. He was Professor Josef Klika. The Comenius Museum was supposed, the first, care for the teachers' heritage The second, assist the further development of Czech education and education in the Czech lands. And the third, support the professional pedagogical development of teachers. Therefore, from its inception, the museum's task was also to care for the pedagogical literature stored in the library, which served the further education of teachers. It introduced them to the development of modern domestic and foreign professional literature. The museum and the library together were thus closely linked not only institutionally, but especially in their mission. Thanks to activities of the museum and the library, the teaching profession became a professional group characterized by its claim to expertise, its control, and its memory. We can summarize that the creation of the Comenius Pedagogical Museum can be seen as a part of the broader efforts of the teaching profession in the last third of the 19th century, when the professional and the social demands of teachers were formulated with the framework of association professional societies, as well as the teachers' congress and conferences. And at the same time, teachers wanted to preserve for future generation evidence of the state of development of the teaching profession school supplies. They also emphasize the preservation of the legacy of Comenius as a founder of modern pedagogy. The pedagogical institution raised money for its activities mainly through donations. Many individuals donated rare or prints of Comenius works, etc., to the museum, former museum. It is clear that the aim of the Comenius Pedagogical Museum were generous and required financial support. However, this was not forthcoming from the political authorities at the beginning of the 20th century, and so the museum, its professional and historical role, remained dependent on the support of the teaching profession itself. This meant rather complicated working conditions, financial insecurity, and the lack of exhibition and library space. I don't know why it's not there. It was important for the development of the museum that František Drtina, you can see photo, became its chairman in 1914. He was a professor of pedagogy at the University of Prague and a close associate of the future first Czechoslovak president Tomáš Garrigue Masaryk. Between 1919 and 1925, the museum became part of the departmental institution of the Ministry of Education called the Comenius Institution of Education. The aim of this institute, it means Comenius Institute of Education, was to analyze foreign education and educational reforms, to support the professional development of teachers, to run a pedagogical library, and among other things, to take care for the culture and professional heritage of teachers, means pedagogical literature, tools, objects of the estates of important teachers and education. Otakar Gardner, a university professor and prominent figure in the teaching profession, was called the head of the Comenius Institute of Pedagogy. Gardner, I don't know why it's not. Gardner became the guarantee that the Comenius Institute of the Pedagogy would serve the fulfillment of the two main goals of teaching profession. These were voiced loudly before the establishment of the independent Czechoslovak state in 1918. and even more so after the establishment of Czechoslovakia. These were the goal of requiring a university education for teachers and the need to reform education in the spirit of Republican democratic values and the reformist pedagogical principles of the time. The Comenius Museum, as a part of the Pedagogical Institute, was also supposed to assist in fulfilling these goals. However, Institute was, abolished by the Ministry of Education. The Pedagogical Museum was also abolished, and therefore the collection of the Comenius Museum faced difficult times. Only the permanent school exhibition remained, which moved to different locations. I can show you photos of a permanent school exhibition. You can see like a cabinet and so on. Only a part of the pedagogical library. You can see another photos. Only pedagogical library received financial support in the following period. However, the museum collection were really, unfortunately, entirely in the hands of the teachers themselves and their associations in the form of the aforementioned permanent school exhibition. So you can see permanent school exhibition. Yeah, you can see it's completed all tools and so on that we need for teaching. A new stage in the development of the Comenius Museum was a post-war period. After the Second World War, at a time of significant historical and social changes in Czechoslovakia, the museum activities were managed by the newly established Pedagogical Research Institute in Prague. In 1956, a government resolution was issued to re-establish the museum under the name the Pedagogical Museum on John Amos Komensky. Many activities were prepared mainly, as it's normal, short-term exhibition from the history of education for the public. The museum professional activities were also devoted to the legacy of Comenius. The museum's priority remained the history of education, teaching, and education. So you can see a new formal exhibition in Balestine Palace. The museum it's a former Minister of Education, František Kahuda. You can see entrance of Balestine Palace, and Balestine Palace is. You can see.
Yeah, we can see. Yeah.
Balestine Palace is in front of our museum, if you know. This garden, you can find a very nice garden here. So it was very marvelous and very large space for museum, you know, in 1957. You can see all entrance to Balestine Palace. Yeah, and it's an exhibition, former exhibition in Balestine Palace. The permanent museum exhibition was opened in the 1960s. This is a photo from 1970. In the dignified and representative premises of the Balestine Palace, the position of Comenius Museum improved, but on the other hand, it did not have enough staff to take care of the destroyed and damaged collection items that were stored in alternative premises for a long time during and after the Second World War. You know that before establishing or re-establishing museum, it was only permanent school exhibition. Yeah, and you can see they move to another places, so it was very terrible. The political and social changes after 1989 mean organizational independence for the museum and considerable room for professional development. In 1999, the museum accepted very precious precious archive of Přemysl Peter and Olga Fircová. Archive found was loaned by the Swiss Association Melidu, which takes care of the estate of the prominent Czech social reformer, humanist Přemysl Peter. We can say, for my mind, that he was as a Nicholas Vinton. Nicholas Vinton, you know name Nicholas Vinton. In the interwar period, he fulfilled the ideas of social pedagogical activities in the spirit of general humanism and Christian heritage. And it's very important to say that after World War II, Přemysl Peter organized several actions to save Jewish children who survived the Holocaust. Most of them lost their families, and the help of Peter and his associated colleagues find a new home, and above all for a human acceptance after the horrors of the Holocaust. Peter rescued child Holocaust survivors. Most of them passed through the gates of death camps. So you can see why our institution also dedicated to education in the period of totalitarianism. I must underline one of the Přemysl, so-called Přemysl Peter's children, Jehuda Bakun, before was George Ježíček, a child which was survived by Peter in 1945, and it was only Czech one survivor, Bakun, testified against Nazi Adolf Eichmann in 1961. So it was very, and he still lives. It's perfect. You know, it's a very nice person. So the activities of this museum were marked by a number of political decisions, as normal in the world. The activities of this museum were marked by a number of political decisions. One of them, from 1996, was the order of the Ministry of Education to leave the premises of the Livestream Paris, which became the seat of the Senate now, so now it's the Senate. The upper chamber of the Parliament of the Czech Republic. This meant not only space constraints for the museum's own activities, but also the need to obtain funding and experts for the creation of a new permanent exhibition and the creation of facility for the museum staff. After 1996, as I told you, two connected Renaissance buildings opposite the Livestream Paris became the museum headquarters. It's a very nice place, but you know, space as you see and you use it, it's not so big, but it's a very important, it's a historical place and very Renaissance French place. So that's why we don't have enough space, but we have a good heart. So now you can see the Current National Pedagogical Museum and Library of Comenius is a specialized central scientific institution, and this is it's a pedagogical library. It's not so far from main station. It's also a very nice place. Yeah, it's an interior of pedagogical library, and then you know this our building. Our library has about 500,000 volumes. The collection includes all prints as well as mainly 19th and 20th century pedagogical literature and historical textbooks and school almanacs. Now there are about 50 specialists, so 50 for our institution, and researchers and educators working in our institution. The museum's collection contains about 150,000 objects, and it's divided into 6 sub-collections. I will say the historical sub-collection of rare exhibits, the collection of school paintings, we say school wall charts, maps, the sub-collection of 30,000 volumes of books and specialist literature or pedagogical journals, including volumes of the 4 works of John Amos Comenius. And these books and literature is in non-public library for researchers. So you can see, for example, only to represent the old prints of our institution. So it contains over 30,000 volumes, and the rarest part is a collection of old, prints, books printed between 1501 and 180. It's only for remind. For example, Lux in Tenebris, it's one of the very important book of Comenius. Also manual, the core of the whole Holy Bible, and very important Orbis Sensualis Pictus. And so I can speak more, but we have time. So, and then we have a sub-collection of the writing and prints, contains a rich collection of archival remains of prominent teachers, school reports and archival material from experimental and reform schools of the interwar period, and then the sub-collection named photographers, films and videos, and also sub-collection of school supplies and school inventories, which contain among the others valuable photographical sources as well as school films. As a whole, the scientific research institution contributes to the systematic knowledge of the history of Czech education and teaching in the interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary context. It's very important. It is an institution with the function of collection, scientific research, teaching programs, exhibition, culture education, methodological, information activities, and presentation, of course. Our institution is on the list of research organizations too. It cooperates scientifically and professionally not only with Pedagogical Museum abroad, but also with many pedagogical and historical institutions, with universities, especially faculties of education and philosophy, as well as with schools in the Czech Republic and abroad, especially we say so-called Czech school without borders, České školy bez hranic. Now you can see photo from our permanent exhibition. Permanent exhibition named "The Legacy of Comenius: Traditions and Challenges of the Czech Education to Europe," which presents 1,000 years of education of the Czech nation in the context of European history, of course, and current exhibition on selected historical and pedagogical issue. And then it was very important to show you, it's a catalog of our exhibition, and very important, I can check this point for you, very important, that our research institution publish historical pedagogical source literature as well as a specialist secondary literature. And since 2015, the international journal Historia Scholastica. The latter has been successfully included in the International Scopus database since 2022. It means this year, so it's perfect. So if you write something, please send us, and we can print it. In the long term, the museum publishes rare school, wall charts, school painting under the same title, which attracts today's children and their visual appearance. I think this publication of these wall charts, old wall charts, is very popular, not only for Czech people but also for foreigners. So, and we call so some wall charts and some education. So the museum has been organizing regular lectures, educational programs, international conferences, both communological conferences and conferences on a broader historical and pedagogical topics. On the instructions of the Ministry of Education, our memory institutions also spent 3 years checking the interest of Czech school in educational programs in museums, galleries, and libraries, and presented the results of the verification nationwide under the educational programs of memory institution. It means museum in schools. Improving the quality of pupils' learning through educational programs is a common goal of the Ministry of Education and also for all other children and teachers. We have produced a comprehensive report which was also used by the Ministry of Culture and Schools. And I can underline that in keeping with the conference theme of the power of museums, this validation confirms the power and responsiveness of museum to the education needs of schools. So it was very, very important activities. Takes 3 years. So it's some wall charts. It's some photos from conferences. One is from France, one is from this museum. And shortly, as you know, we offer many books about Comenius. One of them you have got. It's a title, Comenius at a Glance, and from the context, one can suspect that the book which you have knowledge brings knowledge about the life and work of Comenius, excerpts from pedagogical and philosophical works, and entries related to Comenius' life. Everyone who wants to know more should have this book. And shortly about Comenius, I can only to remind that he was
very important for us. It's very important for us. We come from all parts of the world and we don't know Comenius.
Yes, sure. So, and that's why you will see a movie, but at first I tell you, he was a great teacher and the founder of modern education, also a philosopher, theological linguist, cartographer, natural scientist, and social thinker of the 17th century. And Comenius laid the foundation for universal education, both in his time and for the future, and was a great mind in the field of education and pedagogy. For this reason, he is often called, as you heard, teacher of nations, if you heard. His work is admired around the world, not just by educators. So, for example, on the right side, it's his map of Moravia, so he was also cartographer, but this map used by soldier to orient in not a well-known place. He was born and lived in southeastern Moravia. He studied in Western Europe and then via his exile worked in Leszno, London, Sweden, in Hungary. No, was not Hungary, but was another place called, until he found refuge, asylum, in the Netherlands, where he completed his most important work. He wrote about 250 more or less greater extent. Some of them were already successful in the 17th century. For example, the door of languages opened, Orbis Pictus. You can see Orbis Pictus, the title. We can say by these words, it was bestseller of that time, bestseller. He precisely for innovation in the field of education. His book are still translated into many languages, and the theme inspires artists to literature, musical, so colleagues from musicians, or artistic representation, for example, in comics too. So because we can find some system how to learn about Comenius. So, for example, children like comics, so that's why we prepared last year Comenius in comics. So it was very successful. So, for example, I wrote a book, John Amos Comenius in Czech and Global Visual Art. So the aim summarize works of art from 1642 to the present. So I try to find the way how to learn English Comenius through art, and explain the role of Comenius and so on. So, for example, you can see the oldest portrait. It's from London, because Comenius was visited London. It was from 1642. Then you can see the very popular, very famous publication Opera Didactica Anglia. It was printed in 1657. It was a first public publication where was include all works preparing for teachers how to teach. So it was very, very important to print this work of Comenius. And now it's like a bonbon. You can see it's a portrait of Comenius from Rembrandt. And here in front of you, it's a copy of this Rembrandt's portrait. It's a question: if Rembrandt portraited Comenius, but we believe it, And this portrait is in a Gallery Uffizi in Florence, And we prepared a big concert with artists who presented the most important philosophical ideas of Comenius. If you know, De Rerum Humanarum Emendatione Consultatia Catholica, the universal deliberation of the reform of human affairs. So it was fantastic events in Florence. At that time, it was before 10 years. And this portrait is from Julian Owens. It's a student of Rembrandt, and it's a really I don't like it. It's a really portrait of Comenius. It was nice, no? I have to say, he was handsome. He was clever. Very nice. If you see, so, and from these portraits, I like to prepare reports. For example, next month I will have a report in Brno. My colleague will come with me. And it will be for teachers, but to remind really Comenius ideas, because everybody something to prepare, how to teach, how to use. How to use pedagogy, how to prepare curriculum and so on, but Comenius has written, so why we prepare something newer? Because Comenius was here, yeah. So that's why we try use also anniversaries, 430 years of anniversary this year, and as I told you, we use this anniversary for preparing many events, many events in Czech Republic, but not only in Czech Republic, also in abroad. And we have a special logo, we have a special website, and so I'm happy that in this year 2022 we have these off-site meetings from SICA. Yeah, from SICA, it's perfect. Yeah, so. Now I was shortly about Comenius because we will have for you a film, so that's why I finished about Comenius. But dear colleagues, we hope that the aims of this 26th of General Conference will also be fulfilling, especially as it being held in the context of, I say, the 130th anniversary of the founding of this institution. But the conference also takes place during the Czech presidency of the Council of the EU, as you know. So our contribution to the Czech presidency of the Council of the EU means to digitize books and exhibition named Komensky in Comics, as I told. So that's why we can send you if you like. So that's why we wanted to have your email if you need, because we can send you passport how to read books. It's in four languages. It's a quotation from the most important Comenius books, and this is it's digitalized also exhibition of Komensky in comics. So that's why if you want, please contact Jakub Seiner. We shall send you also this passport. So. The participants, in conclusion, let me wish a successful conference and many stimulating discussion. It's very important. Sometimes discussion is more important than some reports. And I would also like to invite you to visit the exhibition. It's a first floor. The Central Special Pedagogical Library of Comenius, as I told you, and also archive of Przemysl Peter during the conference. And I hope that my speech comes at that time and bring you some information about our, I say, institution, which I think is very special. And if you need some more information, please contact me and I can send you more. So thank you very much for your attention.
And for now, I'll ask Jakub Seiner to give another lecture. Okay, so hello, good morning. My name is Jakub Seiner, and would like to also welcome you in our museum. And because we have quite a full schedule, so don't worry, I'll take just a few of your minutes. So don't worry, because after my presentation will be coffee break, so that's why. So, okay, dear colleagues, I would like to introduce to you in my presentation the legacy of the John Amos Comenius,
through the world and also in the Czech Republic. Through the project which we coordinated by our museum, the National Pedagogical Museum and Library of Jan Amos Communities. I forgot where is the... I also need it. So I think that the ideas of communes are quite important also in these days, because pacifism or education for all, it's very important, and these ideas have a strong potential connecting the world. Facing problems with the modern world, it's very important to commemorate some basics ideas of John Amos communes. For example, pacifism is very important because right now it's not far away from our place where we are, and I think we can see there that the idea of pacifism should be followed. Okay, so I hope that, or hopefully, a better world could come through. Another communist main idea is education for all. A nice example how communists could connection the people or the whole world is part of the celebration of communist anniversary, which was the project of 24 hours non-stop reading communist works across the whole world. You can see, cannot see. Okay, so but you can see still the names of the places. I don't know why, but probably something strange. But you can see the list of the places where which were involved in this project. So, okay, it was implemented by in 2020, in the year 2020. Okay. So, okay. So, now you can see. I'm sorry because I don't know why it's not working. Just my presentation. So this is some problem. Okay. So you can see here all the places where is the selection of the most important countries which are focusing on criminology, because John Amos communists also inspired like science, criminology, and also it's the nice example how we connect whole world. So communists made a fabulous reform of pedagogy. Through the world we can find many schools, science institutions and universities which are spreading communist ideas and commemorate his legacy. For example, it is Moravian University. I choose this because we collaborate with this university. This university is in Pennsylvania, United States, in the city of Bethlehem. I have had an amazing experience there because I spent almost 2 months there. Just 2 weeks I returned from Bethlehem, so it's still fresh memories, and it was amazing experience. And also, it's close to the Czech Republic. It's another institution, a university in Bratislava. It's a communist university in Bratislava. It's the oldest university in Slovakia, which was established in 1990. So we can find many schools across the Czech Republic which are named after communists. But I think it's still not enough, just the name schools after communists, streets, squares, etc. I choose some main communist principles of education or of pedagogy. I think this is the best for us, for museums, because this is very important for us. So the education process or program should be also entertainment. It's not possible to be boring because I'm also a teacher of Czech language for foreigners, so I understand that sometimes it's very difficult and very tough to do your lesson or lecture. Fun or entertainment but you have to. Especially if you teach something a little bit strange, like a Czech grammar. It's for fun, yes, but you know, it's difficult to just fill some boring exercises with some strange endings and so on. So it has to be fun, it has to be entertainment.
Excuse me, is entertainment really written like that in Comenius works? Or how is it?
No, it's just I really, like picked up some like main principles, which is take like base from his point of view to educational system. Because Comenius, for example, if he taught a language, he used drama, for example. So this is like why I choose the entertainment like a word for representing his efforts and his ideas.
This is the school of play.
Of course, school of play, like Škola hry in Czech. It's one of the most important Comenius principle of pedagogy. So I combine these like experience, understanding, and illustrativeness. I think all these four.
I think it's very important now to say also discipline. Comenius say yes, school of play, but discipline. To know role of teacher and the role of pupil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, I'm sorry to interrupt, but as we are working with the help of Franco with the question. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's a very interesting concept, because we are working on entertainment with the help of Franco during the European conference, and so that's why I wanted to know. You know, I think it's so very interesting to know that in the 17th century. You have someone who says it's important to have entertainment to teach. You know, I think it's something that, for at least for me, is a discovery. The fact that it was so early said that, and perhaps you could give us one or two examples of what was the idea of. You said drama?
Yeah. He used drama for teaching Latin, for example, and he put a lot of pictures to the textbooks. Because this is the illustrativeness, and you know, till Comenius and his reform, it was just strict environment with like strict teacher, you know. And I don't like to be, for example, too formal and too strict. So this was how Comenius felt his effort should be given to his students. Because
what do you call play school? That's what you were saying. What is it? Can you describe us?
It can be like drama. You have to play. You have to everything should. You can touch everything. You can try everything. You can you should have like whole experience with the topic of this study. So I think the museum is the best place for these main principles of Comenius, because you can play there. Huh?
Yes.
You can see a lot of things. You can touch and you can. Yeah, you have a lot of like options how you can teach your students through a lot of tools. It's not.
Give us examples.
Okay, examples. So music, it can be like it can be like music. It can be music, like sing songs, you know. And so this is theater and pictures, everything till Comenius reform was boring, like textbooks. You know, you have to write and just memorize till you know, but you don't understand, or you didn't understand what is there, like behind the text and so on. So that's why I choose also the understanding, because everyone has to know what is the topic of the learning. Okay, yeah. yeah, you can find more in the book of Mrs. Pankova, which you have in your bags. So also in the exhibition, in our exhibition, you have the legacy, and you have some like basic ideas of Comenius. You can, I highly recommend you to visit our exhibition on the first floor. So let's. Okay. So right now I would like to speak about just about the basic information about school education system, because I'm coming to the project which I would like to introduce you. So Czech elementary education system, it's total 9 years. So you have to pass 9 years. There is no exception. This is the law. But we have like more options how to reach 9 years. So basically, many pupils study at the primary school. Okay, here. So it's like 2 grades. First grade, the primary stage grade from first 5th grade, and lower secondary stage grades 6th till 9. But you have option also, you can choose gymnasium. It's like 2 types. Usually gymnasiums, they are like focusing on some special area of education. It can be like for languages, for math, for IT systems, or so on. And there is 2 options after 5th year of elementary education and after like 7th year of elementary education. So now, because time is running, I would like just briefly describe you the project which we were involved, and our museum was entrusted like a main coordinator. Educational program of memory institutions for schools. That was like official name of the program or of the project. The project was developed in cooperation between 2 Czech Ministry of Education and Ministry of Culture. The main task or the main idea of the project was to prove interest of primary schools in educational programs of memory institutions, and to find out the influence of museum pedagogy on the quality of education and expansion of pupils' competencies. So this was quite a successful project, I think. Unfortunately, COVID interrupted and stopped the ending of the project, unfortunately. But still, the project was implemented by 2017 till 2020. And it was, I think it was quite successful, because it was in 3 rounds, and first round was involved like 10 10 museums, institutions with 40 objects. Second round were involved like 20 museums or institutions with 40 objects, and the third round was involved 22 institutions with 65 objects. So, and this is the conclusion. In total, 84 schools were involved to the project. But we had more schools which would like to participate, but due to some limits, they cannot join to the project. So this is the numbers. So over the course of 3 years, like 162,000 learners participate in the educational program. Schools visited at total more or almost 3,000 museums, and you can see the total of one-day trips was more than 2,500. So as a result of this project, Ministry of Education increased the budget for schools, and they can like visit museums for their exhibitions. So I think it's a really nice project, and I hope it will continue. So thank you for your attention. I'm sorry for delay.
Okay. We're missing some of the board members, but all the same, they are there. So what I wanted to do is that, as you probably know, we just had the election of the board. Election being something strange because, as you know, and as you have realized, I hope, SICA is a very active committee, and so we need a lot of board members. We need so many board members that for the last elections we didn't get enough candidates. So in fact there was no election because there were, you know, fewer candidates than seats to get. So for this reason we didn't do election because it would have been really silly, but we wanted you to be presented, at least part of the board, and because we are 13, part of the board, and we would like you to say if you are okay with the idea of having us as a board, or if you hate us. So I'm going all the same. It's a good opportunity to present the people, these people to you, and so that you know what they are doing in the board in a very efficient manner. I must say the SICA board is extremely efficient. So I would like to salute Anne-Marie Aymon, who is our treasurer and secretary, and she's just and then Rosa, who is in charge of research, with the help of Colette Dufresne-Dassé, that you all know. And Asma, we do have regional coordinators, and they work with the national correspondents. So please, if you don't have a national correspondent in your country, be one. It's very helpful for us. So Asma is the one for Asia. Wenke is our European coordinator, so she does a heavy job. Marina is our last find, and she's in charge of America, Northern America, and Margarita, where is she? Yeah. Oh, here, excuse me. And so Margarita is in charge of that very important thing, which is the best practice contest and publication and everything. And my Françoise, who is handling her camera, is our webmaster. Angela, who is there, is a very important person because she is taking over the question of the newsletter that you will receive theoretically in your mailbox each time we have something important to tell you, which means all the time. If you're not receiving the if you're not receiving the newsletter lately, just email me. I'm on the website and my email. I can add you to the list because we're not sure we reach everyone. So, yeah. And we're not sure of the addresses, of the mail addresses of our members. So just do, you know, check about that. And Silvana, who is a very, very important and active member of the board, is in charge of Latin America, and they do a lot of things. So here we are, and we can proceed with the rest of the program. Thank you very much for your attention. Yes, excuse me. I knew I had something to say and I couldn't remember what.
Yes.
Thank you very much for the introduction, and thank you very much that we are allowed to be guests here in the Pedagogical Museum. And I'm so pleased to see so many European SICA members, because just in a few weeks, we are going to hold the regional conference, the European Regional Conference at Moskov Museum, that's near Aarhus in Denmark. Our topic is going to be enjoyment in museum programs. So all these programs, what museum educators are doing for our audience, but also behind the scenes, we are going to have topics on this, about health and well-being, about the different target groups, about making joyful group programs for the adults, and also working together with the municipalities. So it's really a good program. There's a lot of workshops. We have 4 panels parallel to each other. So there's a lot of space in the room. And you're very welcome to come to Aarhus. And if you want to know more about the European conference, find me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Buenos días, good morning, bonjour a tout le monde. Yo voy a hablar en español, voy a hacer un párrafo en español, en inglés y lo que pueda también en francés. Voy a hablar. I am going to speak in English so that it can be understood by the majority. My native language is Spanish. I speak French and Italian, but with English I have some difficulty. For this reason, I am going to read this introduction. Voy a hablar en inglés porque es mi lengua nativa, es mi lengua materna, hablo francés, un poco italiano, pero con el inglés tengo dificultades, por esa razón voy a hacerlo en los idiomas que pueda. My name is Margarita Laragné from Argentine Republic. From 2013 to 2019 was Regional Coordinator for Latin American and Caribbean. Since then, the new board chaired by Marie Clarté asked me to take charge of the communication of the Best Practice Award. And from this year, I have taken over the coordination of the award and the edition of the book they call it the Sasmatic Program. Soy Margarita Laragné de la República Argentina. Desde el 2013 al 2019 he sido coordinadora regional de América Latina y el Caribe, y a partir de entonces con la nueva junta presidida por Marie Clarté, aquí presente, que me solicitó que me haga cargo de la comunicación del Premio de Buenas Prácticas, y a partir de ese año he asumido la coordinación del mismo, y este año la edición del libro que recoge el programa de las presentaciones. The Best Practice Award was initiated by Emma Nardi, then president of SICA, and today the new president of Icom. This year, 2022, is the 10th anniversary of the first edition. Reaching this number confirms the success of the initiative launched back then by SECA board when it launched this award for the best practice in educational or cultural action project back in 2011. The tool, which we familiarly call the Best Practice Tool, was designed and drafted by Colette Dufresne-Cassé, former president of the SICA, and Marie Clarté O'Neill, the current president, with the collaboration of the colleagues who made suggestions and modifications to the different aspects and language. Este año 2022 es el 10º aniversario de su primera edición. Llegar a este número confirma el éxito de la iniciativa emprendida desde aquel entonces por la Junta de SECA para lanzar este premio de las buenas prácticas en proyectos de acción educativa y cultural, allá por el 2011. La herramienta a la que nos familiarizamos, llamamos herramientas de las buenas prácticas, fue diseñada y redactada por Colette Dufresne-Tassé, anterior presidenta de SECA, y Marie-Claire O'Neill. Bueno, las dos están presentes en este momento aquí, y con la actual presidenta y con la colaboración de los colegas que hicieron sugerencias y modificaciones en los distintos aspectos de los idiomas. In this first 10 editions, SECA members from 45 countries on 5 continents have participated, and a total of the 194 programs have been submitted. That is on the average of 20 proposals per year. During this edition, 50 programs have been awarded prize, and not only the winner have been published, but also those awards which, in the jury opinion, deserve to be included in the different publications. The first one in printed and digital, the first in digital and printed format, and the last edition is the digital format only. En estas 10 primeras ediciones han participado miembros de SECA de 46 países, de 5 continentes. Se han presentado en un total de 194 proyectos, o sea, una media de 20 propuestas por año. Durante estas ediciones se ha premiado 50 proyectos y se han publicado no solo a los premiados, sino también a todos aquellos trabajos que a juicio del jurado merecían conformar las distintas publicaciones impresas y digitales. Las primeras eran impresas y digitales y estas últimas solamente digitales. All these publications have formed a consultation based the vast SECA network and for those all the which used to is. Todas estas publicaciones han formado parte de una base de consultas, de una vasta red de SECA y para todos los que la deseen utilizar. Pressing this new edition make me really proud and entail great responsibility for me. After the excellent work done by Colette Dufresne-Tassé, Marie-Claire, Emma Nardi, and Cynthia Angelini, who was the former editor. Presentar esta nueva edición es un gran orgullo y responsabilidad para mí, después de la excelente labor realizada por Colette Dufresne-Tassé, Marie-Claire, Emma Nardi y Cynthia Angelini, que fue la que ha hecho las últimas ediciones del premio. Until 2016, the book's best practice contained on the cover an image of a fresco from 1338 by Ambrosio Lorenzetti, in which the government palace of Siena in Italy is shown. This fresco is recognized an allegory of the good governance and the positive effect that is represented in society, and that board of that time wanted to be reflected in its action. Hasta 2016 el libro de buenas prácticas contenía en su carátula una imagen de un fresco de 1338 de Ambrosio Lorenzetti, en el que se muestra el Palacio de Gobierno de Siena en Italia. Este fresco se lo reconoce como una alegoría del buen gobierno y de los efectos positivos que esto representa a la sociedad, y que la Junta, el BOAD, de ese entonces quiso que quede reflejando sus acciones. The last 3 editions of the book lacked an image of the cover. Therefore, given the importance of the 10th edition, I decided, with the concept of the president, that the cover should have a new image, a painting by Vasily Kandinsky from 1925, Gelb, Rot, Blau, Yellow, Red, Blue. En estas 3 últimas ediciones, el libro carecía carecía de una carátula. Es por ello que, dada la importancia que significaba una 10ª edición, decidí, con la anuencia de la señora presidenta Marie Clarté, que la carátula tuviera otra imagen, un cuadro de Vasilij Kandinsky de 1925. La traducción es amarillo, rojo y azul. Kandinsky painted manifest his fascination with the symbolism of colors and psychology. Through color, he reflects the duality between the inner and the outer world. In our case, the inner and the outer world in the activity projected from the music, from the contrast of shape and the color in this painting. This author create tension, but also harmony and dynamism, which is the objective sought by education and mediation of the museum. The rhythm and dynamism of the visit proposed by the multidisciplinary team working in the museum. La pintura de Kandinsky manifiesta su manifestación, bueno, aquí lo están viendo. La pintura de Kandinsky manifiesta su manifestación por el simbolismo del color y la psicología. A través del color refleja la dualidad entre el mundo interior y el mundo exterior. En nuestro caso, el interior y el exterior de las actividades proyectadas desde el museo. De la contraposición de formas y colores de este cuadro, crea una tensión, pero también una armonía y un dinamismo, que es el objetivo que buscan los educadores y los mediadores del museo. El ritmo y el dinamismo de las visitas propuestas por los equipos multidisciplinarios que trabajan en el museo. Get, Raw, Blau, Yellow, Red, Blue is the name of the which Kandinsky identifies his work. Yellow, red, and blue, the color traditionally considered primary, are the one that all us to create more color. Each one of them is completely different and unique. The new proposal, strategy and challenges that can emerge from museum are also an almost infinite combination, like the result of the color mixing together. The geographical theory of the early 20th century, to which Kandinsky adhered, postulates that creation is a geometric progression, starting from a single point. Based on this premise, I invite you to see the best practice tool to create a geometric progression of the new project, competence and skill with educational and cultural action in the museum. Amarillo, rojo y azul es el nombre que Kandinsky identificó su obra. El amarillo, el rojo y el azul, los colores tradicionalmente considerados primarios, son los que permiten crear más colores. Cada uno de ellos es completamente diferente y singular. Las nuevas propuestas, estrategias y desafíos que pueden surgir desde los museos son también una combinación infinita, como el resultado de estos colores al mezclarse. La teoría teosófica de principios del siglo XX, a la que adhería Kandinsky, postulaba que la creación es una progresión geométrica a partir de un solo punto. Partiendo de estas premisas, los invito desde las herramientas de las buenas prácticas a crear una progresión geométrica en sus nuevos proyectos, competencias y desafíos dentro de la educación y la acción cultural. I wish you all a good reading and invite you to participate in future edition of the prize. Les deseo a todos una buena lectura y los invito a participar en las próximas ediciones. Y je m'excuse pour les personnes qui parlent en français, parce que vraiment c'était difficile pour moi pouvoir faire ça avec 3 langues en même temps. Je m'excuse. Let me now introduce the winner of the 10th edition of the Best Practice Award, who have come to Praga to present their program to us and receive their award. Delphine de Betelam. Oui, Delphine. Yeah. Delphine du musée de la musique de la Cité de Paris, France, présente la boîte à musique, un dispositif de médiation à l'hôpital. La caja de música, un dispositivo de mediación a utilizarse en los hospitales.
No, después.
La presentación.
Bonjour à tous, je représente le musée de la musique. Avant ma présentation, je voudrais remercier le board de CECA. C'est ma première présence ici et je suis très heureuse, au nom du musée de la musique Philharmonie, d'être parmi vous. Et j'ai trouvé que toutes les conférences étaient passionnantes. Je vais parler en français, mais j'ai traduit toutes mes slides en anglais. Donc j'espère que vous pourrez bien comprendre et que vous verrez les choses. Avant de présenter le projet Boîte à musique, je vais juste vous présenter en quelques mots le musée de la musique, qui est une collection d'instruments et d'objets d'art qui sont présentés à la Philharmonie de Paris. Je vous ai mis voilà, la photo. Et ce qui est important, c'est qu'on présente les instruments du XVIIe à nos jours, un espace dédié aux musiques du monde. Et notre originalité, c'est qu'il y a un musicien qui joue chaque jour, qui présente son instrument, qui joue et dialogue avec le public. Et la deuxième originalité, c'est que nous avons un visioguide gratuit conçu en accessibilité universelle, donc vraiment inclusif. La présentation, nous faisons énormément d'activités parce que nous avons 900 instruments pédagogiques répartis dans 3 salles pour des visites ateliers et nous proposons des activités à la fois pour les scolaires, les étudiants, les adultes, les publics en situation de handicap et aussi beaucoup d'activités pour les familles. Je vais vous parler plus spécifiquement des activités que l'on propose pour les hors les murs. Ce sont des activités pour les publics éloignés géographiquement ou empêchés, pour différentes raisons. Nous allons dans les écoles, dans les hôpitaux et même les prisons. Nous faisons des concerts dans les maisons de retraite et donc des conférences. Pendant et après le Covid, nous avons initié des activités en visioconférence pour les familles qui ne pouvaient pas venir donc, dans le musée, mais aussi nous avons organisé cela pour des écoles et cette année nous avons transposé ce process pour les personnes atteintes de la maladie d'Alzheimer et ce fut un gros succès. Je vais maintenant vous présenter le dispositif boîte à musique. La boîte à musique est à la fois un device, un objet, et aussi un programme d'activité éducative. Alors, le projet a été initié pour l'Institut Curie, qui est un service pour les enfants malades de cancer. Nous avons travaillé avec eux, et nous avons initié ce programme donc en 2016. Mais c'est une grande réussite, nous continuons avec eux, et nous avons décidé en 2018 de travailler avec un autre hôpital, un autre public qui était un public d'enfants handicapés psychiques, mentales et qui est autiste. Et c'était une nouvelle cible de public que nous avons portée, donc des enfants entre 3 et 12 ans et des adolescents aussi en crise. Donc c'est vraiment une unité assez fermée. le constat était que très peu d'activités leur étaient proposées parce qu'ils avaient vraiment des troubles de l'attention. La boîte à musique, donc, ce sont des activités et un objet pédagogique. Le projet a été mené en co-construction avec l'équipe éducative de l'hôpital, ce qui est très important, qui ont la vraie connaissance des besoins de leurs patients, leurs jeunes patients, et qui ont aussi une connaissance du rythme et des emplois du temps, parce que nous sommes à l'hôpital. Donc nous arrivons avec un plus, mais parfois on gêne un peu. Le projet se divise en deux parties, donc la mise en place d'activités culturelles autour de la musique et du patrimoine musical, c'est mon musée, voilà, important. Et nous avons aussi conçu une mallette pédagogique adaptée aux besoins de ces jeunes patients. Et dans cette conception, on nous a demandé de faire tout sauf du multimédia, des écrans, parce que les enfants sont toute la journée comme ça, et c'était vraiment le principe de base. Les objectifs pour les jeunes patients, c'était faciliter l'accès à la musique de façon ludique, créative et participative. On proposait des activités pour que les jeunes patients soient acteurs et qu'il y ait aussi un outil pédagogique adapté et offrir une ouverture vers un lieu culturel qui pour eux sont très éloignés de leurs préoccupations parce qu'ils sont dans un univers médical. Pour le musée de la musique, c'était important de faire ce projet pour le rayonnement du musée et pour sortir de nos murs, pour aller faire un pas de côté. On approfondissait aussi notre expertise sur les publics qui ont des problèmes de handicap. Et on a aussi travaillé en co-construction pour proposer une nouvelle offre. Alors, il est très important pour nous de dire que ces ateliers n'étaient pas de la musicothérapie, mais vraiment des ateliers de musée qu'on transporte à l'hôpital. Et notre but aussi, c'est de dire que peut-être un jour, certains enfants viendront au musée. On sait on a réussi pour certains, mais et ça c'est important qu'on ne soit pas en musicothérapie, mais qu'on représente le musée. Alors, la boîte à musique, l'objet, je ne sais pas si vous voyez, c'est une mallette qui comprend à la fois des jeux autour de la musique, des jeux très classiques comme les jeux de cette famille, des puzzles, des jeux de reconnaissance sonore, des histoires en musique à bruiter, parce que nous avons aussi des instruments de musique qui sont inclus dans la boîte ou qui sont à côté. Et nous avons conçu un mobilier spécifique pour l'ergonomie pensée pour l'hôpital. Donc ça, c'était aussi important. Il peut être fermé à clé, mais pas que. Les supports pédagogiques ont été conçus de manière à stimuler les enfants porteurs d'un handicap mental sans les mettre en échec. Tout doit être réussite. Très important. Il y avait un équilibre entre les jeux et la découverte du patrimoine pour rappeler que les images ont été faites d'après les photos du musée. Et ce sont aussi des jeux que l'on peut faire seul ou à plusieurs. Parfois, les enfants ne peuvent pas être en groupe, ils sont dans une chambre et il faut penser aussi à ça. Les jeux font intervenir les enfants par le geste musical, la parole, le chant, les images. C'est très interactif. Nous avons essayé que les éducateurs de l'hôpital fassent l'atelier eux tout seuls, mais ils n'ont jamais voulu. Alors, le programme des activités sont proposés en fonction de l'âge et des pathologies. Donc vous avez des ateliers musicaux avec les jeux, des concerts, c'est très important, avec au chevet, donc dans les chambres des patients. Nous avons fait des résidences artistiques avec des conteurs, avec des musiciens sur plusieurs jours, et nous avons essayé de faire sortir certains enfants, quand ils pouvaient, au musée. Et donc ça, c'est important de voir qu'il y a, en fonction des unités et des enfants, des activités qui sont adaptées. La boîte à musique, un projet adapté au handicap psychique, mental et troubles du spectre autistique. Les supports ont été adaptés aux besoins et nous avons travaillé avec une illustratrice jeunesse et qui a retravaillé toutes les images pour être adaptées. Nous avons travaillé avec une graphiste spécialisée dans l'accessibilité universelle et un manipeur qui a aussi transformé tous ces jeux pour être conformes aux normes de l'hôpital. Les enfants, parfois, ont des gestes brusques, ils peuvent envoyer les objets, et il fallait que tout soit conforme à un cahier des charges très strict. Nos intervenants musiciens ont été choisis pour leur qualité pédagogique. Souvent, sont aussi des intervenants au musée, donc ils connaissent vraiment bien notre histoire et nos instruments, et on les a formés pour pouvoir intervenir dans cet hôpital. L'organisation est très complexe à l'hôpital et ce projet a duré 3 ans. Mais il faut voir que la première année, nous avons eu beaucoup de difficultés pour planifier les séances. Et au bout de la 2e et la 3e année, on était vraiment intégrés. Nous avons eu la chance d'avoir une salle spécifique pour nos activités. Nous avons eu des créneaux spécifiques, c'est très important dans un univers médical d'avoir des créneaux pour des activités ludiques et qui ne soient pas soignantes. Et nous avons aussi eu des grosses réunions de présentation du projet aux parents de ces enfants et à l'équipe soignante. Les actions ont tous été suivies et documentées. Nous avons fait un bilan et à chaque séance, les intervenants avaient un brief de l'équipe soignante pour dire « cet enfant est comme ça, vous pouvez aller là dans cette chambre, mais pas celui-là », parce que chaque jour était une situation différente. Ce projet boîte à musique est très lourd au niveau organisation, et chez moi, ça a été porté par 2 personnes pendant ces 3 années, qui étaient à peu près à mi-temps. C'est important de voir qu'il y a une organisation administrative, on paye évidemment tous les intervenants, mais il y a énormément de suivi pour les éducateurs et nos artistes qui parfois reviennent de cette séance très émus et très ont besoin de dialoguer avec nous pour nous dire c'était très compliqué cette fois-là et est-ce que je peux tenir, est-ce que j'ai envie de continuer. Alors, ce qui était important, c'est que nous avons eu des retours très positifs de l'équipe en disant, pour les jeunes patients, sur le plan cognitif, ils ont réussi à mieux mémoriser, à acquérir de vocabulaire. Certains enfants ne parlent pas et tout d'un coup prononcer des mots. Donc c'était extraordinaire. Et au niveau des savoir-faire et de la concentration, parce que parfois, au bout de 2 minutes, ils partent sur autre chose. Et sur le plan affectif et émotionnel, ils ont réussi à respecter des consignes. Parfois, ils n'écoutent pas, mais là, oui. Et ils avaient de la considération pour l'autre. Nous avons fait des ateliers pour la musique où il faut écouter l'autre, jouer ensemble. Et tout ça, c'est des notions de vie quotidienne qu'ils n'ont plus. Et grâce à ce projet, ils ont retrouvé cette confiance et ils ont créé des liens avec les autres. Pour les équipes éducatives et soignantes, c'est aussi un enrichissement personnel, c'est une parenthèse dans le processus de soins, ça c'est aussi important. Et ce qui est aussi important pour eux, c'est qu'ils avaient un nouveau regard sur les enfants, qui n'étaient plus des patients, mais des enfants.
Donc, ils nous ont dit, ces activités constituent un moment de plaisir pour tous, et vraiment, cette médiation non scolaire, dans une salle avec des outils qui n'ont pas de lien avec leur quotidien médical, était très important. Là, c'est la slide pour dire combien d'enfants on a touché. Ce ne sont pas forcément toujours les mêmes enfants sur les 3 années, et en fonction de leur degré de maladie et de la façon dont ils sont bien ou pas bien le jour venu. Ce qui est important, c'est qu'il y a aussi beaucoup de personnel encadrant à l'hôpital qui sont venus assister à ce projet et suivre ce projet. Le bilan de l'évaluation a bien dit que c'est un projet qu'il faut faire sur du long terme. Au niveau communication, c'était important d'avoir notre équipe de la Philharmonie qui a communiqué sur le projet. Nous avons eu un communiqué de presse, des articles, et merci à Margarita et aux best practices du CK, c'est très important de valoriser. Et nous avons fait une vidéo aussi qui va être sur notre site pour montrer le projet. C'est un peu nouveau de mettre beaucoup de moyens de communication sur un projet qui est très peut-être petit par rapport à toutes les activités qu'on propose à la Philharmonie. Et ce qui est important, c'est que nous avons eu un partenariat avec cet hôpital, qui est un des plus gros hôpitaux pour enfants en psychiatrie à Paris et en France. Et nous avons un partenaire mécène qui a financé l'intégralité du projet, qui a coûté, je peux vous le dire, 100 000 € sur 3 ans. Donc ça a payé les salaires, la boîte à musique que vous avez vue, c'est à peu près 10 000 € à la fois avec tous les manipeurs, le temps de penser la fabrication. Donc c'est très cher, et à la fois c'est du long terme. Nous avons payé beaucoup d'artistes qui passaient entre 1 heure et 3 heures. Donc voilà, il faut se dire que sans ce mécénat, on n'aurait pas pu faire le projet. Les perspectives du projet, en fait, notre mécène souhaitait que nous puissions exporter ce projet. Et en fait, on s'est rendu compte au bout de 3 ans que c'était vraiment un projet sur mesure et qu'il faut pouvoir adapter à chaque fois une boîte à musique pour chaque établissement. On ne peut pas dupliquer le projet. Même si on le souhaitait, il faut refaire tout presque à la base. Et la deuxième chose, c'est un gros projet pour notre équipe éducative. Il y a 3 personnes en médiation au musée de la musique. Et c'est vraiment un gros projet, donc on ne peut pas non plus faire ça dans plein d'hôpitaux à la fois, où il faut embaucher personnel. Et le mécène qui nous a soutenus nous a dit « J'ai terminé de soutenir tout ce projet, et maintenant il faut que ce soit le musée, l'hôpital qui trouve des moyens propres, parce que l'hôpital a un service de mécénat. Mais nous avons beaucoup de mal depuis 3 ans parce que tout était gratuit sur un plateau en argent. Et là, ils se disent, donc on va terminer en décembre et les soignants veulent que ça continue, mais ils n'ont pas forcément les moyens de le faire. Nous, au musée, nous pensons à d'autres suites pour la boîte à musique, pour d'autres publics, mais ça, c'est une autre histoire. Pour terminer, je voulais juste dire que pour nous, ce dispositif a été particulièrement pertinent au moment de la pandémie parce qu'il y a beaucoup d'articles sur la santé mentale des jeunes qui a vraiment chuté et nous étions sur un public très particulier, mais on sait qu'il faut aller vers ces publics. Je voulais encore remercier donc le CK d'avoir choisi cette boîte à musique pour la 10e édition et je vous remercie.
¿Qué cuestión? Preguntas para Delfina.
Sophie. Oui, Sophie.
Bravo Delphine, congratulations, c'est super. I've got 2 questions for you. I wanted to know si tu pouvais, can you precise us what are the games, en quoi est-ce qu'ils sont adaptés aux pathologies? Est-ce que tu avais un exemple précis d'adaptation précise d'un jeu à une pathologie? First question. Et si on a le temps, second question. The method of your survey, quelle est la méthode? Est-ce que c'était des entretiens avec les enfants? Thank you.
For the first question, la première question, c'est que ce sont des jeux classiques, mais dont les images ont été traitées pour que le rendu visuel soit très simplifié. Par exemple, vous avez un jeu de domino, il fallait qu'il y ait quelques couleurs, quelques contours, et qu'il y ait juste un objet. Donc les instruments de musique, on a travaillé pour détourer, pour rendre les contrastes plus importants, et on a tout fait valider par les enfants à chaque fois qu'on avait un jeu. L'autre chose...
I'm going to,
Yeah.
to translate. The idea was to use traditional games, but simplifying the shapes and the proposals so that the children, the young, could be at ease with something simplified. So the same thing, but simplified.
Parfois, on devait faire en sorte que les matériaux soient des matériaux qui ne... Quand les enfants projetaient les objets, soient à la fois légers, solides, lavables, des choses et sur le long terme.
So the materials had to be worked upon also, so that they would be, if the children were doing, you know, throw it away, brusque gestures, had to be light, not dangerous, washable, you know, adapted to that situation.
Et après, il y a des jeux que l'on a simplifiés. Normalement, il y a 12 cases, on a mis 8 cases, et on a vraiment travaillé avec vraiment des jeux classiques, mais qui fonctionnent pour 1 ou 2 ou 3 enfants. Voilà. La deuxième question, c'était...
J'ai oublié la deuxième question.
Ah, la méthode, c'est que nous avons déjà eu d'autres expériences au musée avec des publics en situation de handicap, et nous avons pris le meilleur et les recettes qui marchaient bien. Ensuite, nous avons travaillé avec l'équipe encadrante et soignante, et nous avons au sein du musée une personne qui s'occupe de l'accessibilité et qui nous a validé, et notre conceptrice extérieure était une spécialiste en accessibilité. Donc les 3 choses ont fait que tout convenait à ce public. C'est les enfants qui ont validé, mais très important, on ne pouvait pas travailler avec ces enfants. Ils ne sont pas dans la communication. On travaille avec les psychologues, les soignants, les encadrants, les enfants. Ce n'est pas possible.
I think the most important thing that you said was at the end is the fact that co-creation with the children themselves is just not possible. So you have to create with people that take care of them, but not with them directly. Thank you very much.
Para los hispanoparlantes estuvieron hablando que los métodos que se utilizan son conjuntamente con todo el equipo y los especialistas del hospital, y los objetos, los juguetes o lo que utilizan en la caja de música son objetos maleables, bueno, adaptados para estos chicos con dificultades, así que todo está sumamente previsto. Oui. Je m'excuse, pido perdón. Son Much Chan. Of the Sunshine Young Memory Halls of Singapore, present her program, Data Driven Chatbot Interactive Game.
just test and we just test.
Hello everyone, I'm Sokman. I'm actually from the Outreach and Education team at the Sun Yat-sen Nanyang Memorial Hall, which is an institution under the National Heritage Board. Okay, I'm actually very honored to be invited to share at this conference, and today I'll be sharing with you the data-driven chatbot interactive game that our Memorial Hall developed last year. Okay, before I begin, may I have a show of hands? How many of you have visited Singapore? Oh, that's quite a number. So allow me to actually, sorry. Give a quick introduction of our Memorial Hall, which is over. Sorry. This is the. Okay, our Memorial Hall, which is actually located at Balestier Precinct in Singapore, is actually an area filled with rich history and culture. Okay, the Sun Yat-sen Nanyang Memorial Hall is actually a heritage institution under the management of the National Heritage Board in Singapore. My colleague Joanne, who is the next speaker, she will be sharing more. So other than the Sun Yat-sen Nanyang Memorial Hall, there are two other sister institutions, which are the Malay Heritage Center as well as the Indian Heritage Center. So these three heritage institutions, yeah, we are actually part of the National Heritage Board. And now let's take a look at the Memorial Hall. It is a very beautiful two-story villa, and it actually traces the revolutionary activities of Dr. Sun Yat-sen in Southeast Asia. And Dr. Sun, as most of you might know, he's actually a key person in leading the 1911 revolution, and which actually overthrew the Imperial Qing dynasty in China. And this Memorial Hall highlights the local Chinese pioneers, okay, the significant role that the local Chinese pioneers played in the 1911 revolution and the impact of the revolution on the Chinese community in Singapore. It also highlights the contributions of these local Chinese pioneers in the nation building of Singapore in various industries and aspects such as education, economy, and publications. So we actually aspire to become a focal point for the Chinese community in Singapore in promoting the understanding of Chinese culture and heritage. And we actually work very closely with our key stakeholders. So together with the other heritage institutions, we actually promote cross-cultural understanding within each community and across communities. Okay, so let me move on to the next slide. Okay, do you all know what is this? What are these? Pineapple tart. All right. Okay. Yes, it is pineapple tart, and it's actually a small, buttery, bite-sized pastry. Okay, that is filled or topped with pineapple jam. Okay. Do you know that Singapore is actually a multicultural society, and this is actually a festive snack enjoyed by all major ethnic communities in Singapore, mainly comprised of the Chinese, Malays, Indians, and Eurasians. Okay, and you can see it actually comes in different shapes, sizes, and patterns. My personal favorite is actually the one in the center. Okay, because it's round and then it's filled with, it's usually filled with generous filling of pineapple jam, and I really like it a lot. And how exactly it is being made, and what is the best recipe? Well, today I'm actually not here to demonstrate a baking session, as you can see. Okay, so you would have to find out more on your own, and instead I'm going to share with you our recipe in the experimental journey of the interactive chatbot game. Okay, so let's take a look at the overview. The production of this chatbot game is quite similar to the baking process of the pineapple tart, where it's actually divided into 4 parts. The first is actually the beginning stage, where we actually think of what product we want to develop and how exactly it is being produced. Then we will actually move on to production stage, where we actually try to put that together, and after that, during the implementation stage, we will actually try to gather public response, also called do taste tests, to really fine-tune our recipe so that we can actually better cater to the needs of our target audience. Okay, so let's take a look at the first stage to find out how we actually conceive the idea of a chatbot game. So I believe all of you would agree that the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic has actually spurred the development of digitalization, right? Has actually accelerated the rate of digitalization and spurred the development of digital initiatives across museums around the world. So for our museum, we actually explored self-guided educational digital initiatives as alternatives for our on-site facilitated programs and as resources to engage our walk-in student visitors, since student visits or school visits were actually restricted. So last year, we actually embarked on the use of the Chatbot platform to design a digital program in order to actually engage our audience in a safe and contactless manner. Okay, and at the same time, we also made use of this platform to actually collect data seamlessly in one platform and to better understand our visitors' profiles as well as their preferences through data analytics. Then, of course, we also want to make sure that it is actually something that is fun and interactive for the children while they learn more about Chinese culture and heritage. So, what exactly is the recipe, right? How do we produce it? So these are the key ingredients. Oh, wait. Okay, so these are the key ingredients in producing the Chatbot game. The first one is actually for the content of our Chatbot game. It was actually conceptualized to complement our special exhibition team. And we actually work very closely with our key stakeholders. And then there are actually 3 approaches adopted to actually enhance the visitor experience in the midst of the pandemic. So the first one is actually the use of contactless technology. So we actually felt that with a high mobile penetration rate in Singapore, the use of the Chatbot game is actually a viable approach to engage our visitors in a safe and contactless manner. And what they need to do is to use their mobile phones, and they can explore the galleries and locate different QR codes that are located there. And then they will then actually access the Chatbot, which is actually filled with interactive games, and there are actually dialogues, images, as well as videos. The second approach is game-based learning. In an age of shortened attention span, we felt that gamification is a way to engage our participants through play. So we actually designed a interactive digital quest in the Chatbot platform, and then the participants will have to go through a series of tasks, okay, and fun facts will actually be shared along the way. And the series of tasks are actually related to the selected artifacts in the galleries. And finally, the third approach is actually data analytics. We feel that data actually can provide actionable insights for us to actually improve and enhance the content and services in our museum. So how do we do that? We actually try to incorporate survey into the Chatbot platform, and at the same time, the level of engagement of our participants can also be tracked by seeing which stations they actually complete along the way. Yeah, and without actually the use of such Chatbot technology, probably the data collection might not be even possible. So now let's take a look at an example. Be a Little Fashionista Heritage Hunt. This hunt was actually designed last year to complement our special exhibition titled Modern Women of the Public, Fashion and Change in China and Singapore. It is actually an exhibition that traces the evolution of women's fashion through time. And what we target is actually is designed for walk-in visitors with young children from 5 to 12 years old to learn more about traditional costumes of Chinese women in the past. And we actually work very closely with our school partner, River Valley High School, to co-curate the content together. So the students actually work in group, and they were actually tasked to conceptualize the heritage hunt activities and produce activity instructional videos. And of course, they were actually encouraged to conduct research, okay, to learn more about the heritage content before presenting their activity proposals to us, as well as their video presentations. Then, I don't really know how to use. Sorry. So the so-called key steps involved in the conceptualization of this heritage hunt, there are actually 4. The first one is actually to come up with a storyline to engage young participants. And the second one is to then conceptualize the heritage hunt activities. After that, the students will then have to draft out the activity instructional scripts before putting them into videos. And this content was then embedded into the Chatbot platform, which we actually work very closely with a Chatbot developer to conduct multiple tests before we roll it out to the public. And this entire process actually took about 5 months. And let us take a closer look at the steps, key steps. So as you can see, the storyline actually revolves around a mascot. Her name is Xiaoqing. Okay, she actually brings participants on an adventure to learn more about Chinese fashion in the past. And along the way, they are given a mission. The mission is to help find her favorite outfit. Okay, and then they were actually given a map to go and find the artifacts that are located at different parts of the galleries. And during the game, you can see over here is in the center of the in the center of the slide, they were actually given instructions to answer questions related to the artifacts, and then they are actually given a video to watch to complete a physical activity. The one shown here is actually on museum etiquette. So before even they start to find the different artifacts in the galleries, there is actually a video to tell the participants what are the do's and don'ts in the museums before they actually embark on the journey to look for the different, how to hunt for the different artifacts. Okay, so in terms of data collection, there are actually 3 key segments. The first one is actually on the pre-program, meaning before the start of the game. The participants are actually required to provide their profiles, such as their age, their race, so that we can understand that we can collect the visitors' profile. And during the game itself, the level of engagement is actually tracked by seeing how many stations they complete for this entire hunt. There are actually a total of 6 stations. So when they complete each station, we can actually track the number of participants who completed it. Okay, the last part is actually after the end of the game, we actually requested for them to provide feedback to really know more about whether the program is effective in achieving the learning outcomes that we want for the children. And of course, they are also given the option to subscribe to our mailing list for future event updates. So let us take a look at this game. This is actually the last station. So we scan a QR code and we go into the game. There's a question related to the artifact and they have to answer it. And after answering the artifact, there will be a video for them to watch in order to complete the physical activity kit.
Favorite outfit. Do you know, cheongsam was first worn by women in the 1920s. The cheongsam actually changed many times, and the ones you see today are very different from the first cheongsam. Cheongsam used to be loose-fitting, but they became tighter over the years. Tighter and shorter. In Singapore, where our weather is hot, women sometimes wear sleeveless cheongsams.
Now, let's dress me up using the outfits provided in the kit. How do we begin? First, you need to take out the outfits and paper doll from the kit. Next, you will need to dress me up with the correct outfit based on the description provided. Once you're done, collect your token and find my favorite outfit in the gallery.
And this is how your paper doll should look like.
Let's do it! Go!
So after they watch the video, they will have to do the activity. Once they complete it, they will actually get a digital token. And this is actually the last token, which eventually forms the full picture of Xiaoxing's favorite outfit. And they are supposed to take a photograph with it and to redeem a free gift at our reception counter. And we do ask questions along the way to find out how they feel about this station, how they feel about this game. And the last part is actually a feedback. So the sentence here is actually, well done, let us know if you have enjoyed your journey with us. Then there will be questions on different questions, the survey questions that we would like to ask. Then during implementation stage, of course, QR codes were actually located at different parts of the galleries for ease of access to the chatbot game by the visitors. They can actually go to any point where they can find the QR code, they can just scan it, and they will be able to access to the game. And of course, in terms of publicity, to raise the awareness of this game, we actually publicize this heritage hunt on our social media platform, which includes the website as well as our Facebook. And then for this game, it's a little bit special because it's introduced in a two-phase way, whereby it was actually launched as a digital version in conjunction with the launch of the Spectrum exhibition. Then thereafter, it was actually launched as a hybrid version, whereby we worked with students from River Valley High School, as I mentioned earlier, to come up with a physical activity kit to sort of like provide a more tactile and hands-on experience for children. Because this hybrid version was actually launched in conjunction with a children's festival known as Children's Seasons. It is actually held in conjunction, it was actually held during the school holidays period, and especially targeted at children. Okay, so, okay, the next one. Thank you. Sorry, yeah, okay. So, of course, after implementation, as I mentioned, we do need to gather public response. We do need to actually do a taste test and to fine-tune our recipe. So here you can see, in order to actually track the effectiveness of our programs, there are actually 3 key performance indicators. The first one is actually the total number of participants, which is defined as the number of participants who completed at least one station. The second one is actually the total number of participants who completed all 6 stations, and we deem them as engaged participants. The third one is actually the consolidated feedback in order to evaluate the effectiveness of this program. So here we can see a table. 144 participants actually participated in the hunt, and they completed at least one station, and out of which 84% of them actually completed all the stations. So which is actually quite a high engagement rate to us. And the next slide, we can see from the statistics here, these are some of the questions that we asked. Most of them actually, a majority of the respondents actually enjoyed the game, and they felt that they have learned more about Chinese fashion in the past. And of course, they felt that the use of this digital tool has enhanced their museum experience, which is very important to us while we actually do this pilot program. And the last part, of course, we do evaluate and tweak the content during the phase 2 of this heritage hunt, where it's a hybrid version. And what we did was that there are some changes. One of the changes is actually to add on more visuals to make it more chatbot friendly. And of course, we also made some amendments to the instructions of the game by telling the participants that they will actually get a free gift towards the end of the game, and they can actually redeem it. We hope that it will actually motivate them to complete this entire hunt. So these are some of the changes, and we actually tried to compare the data over these 2 phases, and we realized there is actually an increase in the number of participants, which is around 11.54% in completing all 6 stations. So it's actually something that is to us, is actually, we are very surprised and of course happy to know that. And so all in all, in this journey, right, we felt that it's actually a continuous journey of refinement to really enhance our visitor experience. Through this pilot project, we actually sort of like explore the various possibilities of using the chatbot technology, and of course, the importance of data in allowing us to actually know more of our visitors' profiles and their preferences through data analytics. And in this way, it allows us to actually try to modify our content to better engage our target audience. So it's actually a very exciting journey for us because we are still learning and we are still trying to experiment different digital tools. And we hope that we can actually come up with more digital initiatives for our younger ones to enhance their learning and understanding of Chinese culture and heritage. So now, back to my favorite pineapple tart. Okay, back to my favorite pineapple tart. As you know, right, this is a festive snack enjoyed by all ethnic groups in Singapore. And if you would like to have a taste of our chatbot game, feel free to scan the QR code over here. You'll be able to access to sort of like a quiz, which is related to our traveling exhibition on celebrating commonalities, festive customs in Singapore. You will be able to find out more about some of the common features shared across the various major ethnic festivals in Singapore. The game format is very different from the Heritage Hunt, but it will give you a glimpse of how our chatbot platform looks like. And actually, this is available on our website. So for participants who complete the game, they are actually able to redeem something at our memorial hall. But if you happen to complete the game today, please show me the screenshot. I have prepared some gifts, and I'll be happy to pass to you the gift. Okay, with that, I have come to the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for your time and attention.
Preguntas? I would like to know. I would like to know a little bit more about engagement of users to improvement of the game, right? We all are all the time talking about co-creation, right? So, what's your take on this?
The engagement of users in...
Yeah, like, did you talk to youth? Did they give you feedback? How did you work with them? Do you have a council? Do you work with who to give you feedback on this from youth, from your users?
Okay, so thank you for your question. For this game, right, we actually work with students from River Valley High School. So the students are the ones who came out with the Heritage Hunt activities. So they are the ones who come up with interesting ideas, such as the one that I shown was actually on museum etiquette. It was a maze activity. And there are also the last station, which is on finding Salting's favorite outfit, is actually matching the outfits to the correct paper doll. So these are actually activities from the young ones for the younger, the little ones. So we actually tried to sort of like gather feedback in a way from the youths who co-curate this content with us. And of course, because we incorporated surveys into the chatbot platform, and the responses that we gathered, right, are also very useful in allowing us to see whether this game is actually engaging for the public. Yeah, so I hope that answers your question. Yes, thank you so much.
Okay. The next, Joan Jen of the National Heritage Board of Singapore presents her program, Virtual Heritage Trail Program for the Specialty School.
Hi, good morning. Good morning. Okay, so while we wait for my presentation to come up. Okay, great. So I'm Joanne. I'm from the National Heritage Board. I'm actually from the Education and Community Outreach Division of NHB. Today I will share a little bit about this Virtual Heritage Trail program that we did for specialized schools. I'll share a little bit more what exactly is specialized schools. So I will give you a little bit of background what we do at NHB at HQ level. Then we'll talk about the conceptualization process of how we actually came out with this virtual heritage trail, our key takeaways, and eventually what we're going to do with specialized schools. Okay, so you have seen some of my colleagues over the last few days. You may have heard a little bit about NHB, but for the benefit of others, just let me share a little bit about what we do at NHB. So National Heritage Board was set up in 1993 under the Ministry of Culture, Community and Youth. We're really a STEP board here. A big part of what we do is museum management. So like you heard from my colleague just now, Suniasa Nanyang Memorial Hall is one of the institutions under NHB. Of course, we also have the national museums under us. Besides that, we also do a lot of content creation, be it through the exhibition at our museum or even heritage trails. So we do not just have exhibitions in the museum, we also present content out of the museum. Okay. Besides that, we also actively engage our community partners. We want to hear their feedback. We also want to gather their community memories. Yeah. We also have an arm looking at preservation of sites and monuments as well as conservation of national collection. So a very big part of what we do is really heritage education. Because without education, then how do we pass on that legacy from one generation to the next? So let me just share a little bit about heritage education framework that we have. So this is the heritage education framework that we have set out at the HQ. So all museums under us will try to follow this framework that we have set out. This guides us in terms of our program development. So what we really want to do here is to establish a lifelong learning and interest in heritage and culture. We want our youngs to become heritage advocates in the long run. So there are 4 strategies that we have put out here. The first one is to really align our content, our program with the national curriculum. We want them to be relevant so that schools will come to our museum. Okay, so we want to be an authentic learning experience for students. The second one is to develop a variety of approaches. So our programs are age appropriate for the different levels that we want to reach out to. We also want to be inclusive, so we want to reach out to other schools beyond mainstream schools. So here we are looking at specialized schools, SPED, even seniors. Yeah. And then for strategy 3, while we do engage these partners, we also want them to co-create content with us. While we may know the museum very well, we may not know their audience very well. So we want to co-create content with them such that our programs actually meet their needs. And last but not least, we also want to have exchange of ideas. We want them to come in to also build up our capabilities. So it's a two-way exchange kind of thing. So all in all, whatever we do, we really refer back to the MOE curriculum. We want to make sure that our offerings is relevant to our students. So how do we do that, you may ask, right? Okay, so this is the heritage student life cycle that we've envisioned for our young. We have everything for students from the preschool level all the way to tertiary level. So we want to create meaningful heritage touchpoint at every stage of a child's life. So at preschool level, what we want to do here is to expose them to Singapore's history and heritage. We want to get them a little bit started. Okay, so know who you are, right? Your flag and also the heritage festivals that we celebrate. Then at primary school level, we want to build up on that experience. So they come to the museum, they learn a little bit more. And then at secondary school level, we don't just want them to be passive learners, we want them to be analytical. So we provide them with programs that give them platform to analyze and think about what has been presented to them. And then finally, at tertiary level, with whatever that they've experienced from preschool until secondary, they should have that as foundation. We want them to co-create content with us. So you don't just be passive learners, but now you are given the heritage, you come and create that content with us, and hopefully in that process, you become a heritage advocate for us. Okay. So with that, like I mentioned just now, we aim to be inclusive. We believe that Singapore's history and heritage should be enjoyed by all students in Singapore. But we do understand that, in the whole society, we have students that go to mainstream schools, but we also have students that may not be able to make it academically. So what is exactly specialized school? They're not really special needs students, they're actually in between. Okay, so I'll share a little bit more who they are. So these students are 13 to 16 years old, so they finished elementary school, and then it's something like a middle school, secondary school kind of thing. Okay, they are more skills inclined, so they may not be so well versed in the academic area, and some of them do have a little bit of education needs, so they may be a little bit dyslexic, or they may be hearing impaired, and most of them actually come from low-income families, so they do not have that kind of family support to help them get a head start academically. So these are the students that we're looking at in terms of special schools. Yeah, so what do they need? In special schools, when students come to these specialized schools, they go through a very hands-on curriculum. So the curriculum that they go through is not the same as the mainstream schools in Singapore. What they do here, like you can see, they are actually learning how to become pastry masters. So it's something a bit like your vocational school. So they really learn a lot of skills, and eventually that helps them to get employed in the future. Okay. So with that understanding of specialized schools, what we need to do is really, do we have an inclusive offering for them? Okay, so when we were presented with an opportunity to work with a specialized school, we're very grateful for that, and we work very closely with the teacher to come up with something for students. Then based on that understanding, we know that if we want to do an offering for them, it has to be engaging, it has to be enriching for students, it has to help them appreciate who and what we are, and of course our history and heritage. Yeah, it has to give them that kind of authentic experience, and hopefully, as requested by the teacher, can we have an outdoor classroom experience? So with that, we actually wanted them to go on a heritage trail around certain parts of Singapore to see World War II history, because that was something that they learned in the classroom. But let me see. Okay, but some things happen, right? Yeah. So what we do at the starting point, we really work very closely with the teacher. We want to understand our audience. So what kind of students are we dealing here? They are slightly different from mainstream school students, so we really need to understand them. We need to find out what is their learning need, what is their learning challenge. Then we need to find out in their curriculum what are they learning. How do we then develop a program that is aligned to that curriculum to elevate what they have learned in classroom. And then we work hand in hand with the teacher to decide the learning outcomes for the program. So we understand that learning about World War II history in Singapore, we want to do a program that actually helps them bring that classroom learning alive. Okay? And then we also hope that that experience will get them more interested in history and heritage. Of course, it's a lot of piloting and improvement in the process. We came up with the script, we crossed it with the teacher, we asked for inputs, we refined, and then eventually we ran the program for the student. So like I mentioned just now, we wanted it to be a physical trail. We wanted students to go down the trail to experience the place, because then sometimes when you see the place, you feel the impact. But, well, COVID came, right? So things have to change. We were not able to have learning journeys, so what we wanted to do was to do it virtually. But there are many ways we can do it virtually. One way that was very common was to take pictures of the site, put it in the PowerPoint, you just watch it on Zoom and then we talk about it. But that's not the experience that we want to provide the students, because that's rather static. So we came up with two ideas. Just slightly different, okay? So just bear with me while I try to explain them. So the first one is actually a Bras Basah World War II Virtual Heritage Trail, okay, for Year 1 students. So all the Year 1 students, about 130 of them, ran for this program. The second one is the Bukit Timah Heritage Trail. It's a dramatized version. As you can see here, we do have someone acting in the process. Yeah, so this was attended by 140 Year 2 students. So we presented two formats on purpose, really, because we wanted to see which format was more preferred by students. Was it the first one or the second one? So the first one is really a live stream virtual heritage trail, meaning to say that we have a guide on site. If you can see the guy over there, so he's on site with a gimbal. He shows the students the site that they are looking at. He talks about the place. And then, because he does all the talking, he's on site, he has to walk from one site to the next, right? We have a host online. So while he walks from one site to the next, the host will conduct pop quizzes with the students to help them summarize some of the pointers that he had mentioned or to reinforce the learning. Okay, so while he's on site, because sometimes we talk about things that happened in the past and you're not able to see it, doing it online actually helps us because then we can show archival images so that students can see, oh, in the past how it looks like. Yeah. Okay, and then something very special about this is because it's a live stream and it's done on Zoom. So what students can do is that they can interact with the guide. So if there's something that the guide talks about and they're not able to see it clearly, they can tell the guide, can you zoom in here, or you can tell more about this thing or that. Yeah. Then the second format is a little bit different. It's really a dramatized version. So basically you don't have a guide on site. Everything is pre-recorded. It's presented like an interactive show. So you watch a show in class. Okay, so the story is about this guy you can see here right up there. He's running. Basically, he was taking a train home and then he fell asleep. He thought that he was being chased by a tiger, but true enough, he really time traveled back to 1980 something. Okay, so that's where he goes through different timestamps, look at the different sites, meet different people, like the guy that you see at the bottom. So you met different people and you sort of go through that heritage trail. While we understand that just watching something may not be that interactive, we also had some did you know kind of information coming up. There were also questions so teachers could pause there. We also have a live host that will pause the video and ask students questions. We also got in a heritage enthusiast, so he shared personal stories about the place, memories of long-time residents there. Yeah. So these were the two formats that we offered. Yeah, so just to recap, the first mediation tool that we used during the pandemic was the virtual version with the live streaming. The second one is the dramatized version. And the last one, which is being used by both, is that engagement with the guide, with the host, the games. Yeah, so what we want to do here is then to assess which one actually works better. Okay, so these are the questions that we asked. We want to find out whether did the experience help them better understand and appreciate Singapore's history and heritage, and also did that inspire them to find out more about Singapore's history and heritage after that whole experience. Anybody want to make a guess? Which one was more preferred by the students? The first one or the one with the tiger? Tiger? First one? Don't really know, right? Just like us, we also don't really know, so let's find out. Okay, so for the first one, we received 100%. All of them really enjoyed this format. 80% of them said that they will want to visit the sites, they will want to find out more about Singapore's history and heritage after this experience. The second one, more than 80% of them liked it. More than 70% of them said that they want to find out more. So when we do a comparison here, we realized that actually students prefer the first format. I think that's really because the guide was on site. They were able to interact more intimately with the guide, right? Well, I mean, while there was a host there, he was not really on site. That experience felt a little bit distant. So the first one was the preferred model for engaging specialized schools. And so what's next, you may ask, right? The first one, if there's a need for a virtual tour now, we know this is the way to go ahead with it. And likely, if there is a need, we will go with this format. And because a lot of safe distancing measures have been lifted, a lot of schools are asking for physical experience, even specialized school. So we are looking at something like a puzzle trail hunt. That means you don't just go on a guided tour, but you're given the puzzle, you go and walk the trail yourself, find out the answers yourself, and then learn about the place. Sorry, what she has disappeared. Okay. And the last one, Ever so quick? Okay. And the last one is that if we want to engage all students in the school, we could look at the dramatized version and to make it an interactive performance in school, where then we can interact better with the students. It could act as a teaser before the students go on the trail. Yeah, so with that, I've come to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. If you'd like to see my beautiful country, I have worn a little bit of it on me. But if you want to see more, you can look at our magazine. I have some here for you. Yeah, thank you.
Questions? Preguntas?
Presentation. I'm also working in heritage education, therefore I was especially interested. And I would just like to hear maybe two words about cooperation with teachers. Are there teachers who have special education, or are you doing all the pedagogical work also?
You're asking from the teacher's point of view or from us? I think for us, because we're not that trained in terms of teaching students, we work very closely with the teacher. So what we typically do is that if we want to do a program like that, we have to find a partner. When we find a partner, we work very closely with the teacher. So usually we'll come up with a program proposal, the teacher will give their inputs, and then from there we refine. Yeah, so how exactly to engage the students, that will come from the recommendation of the teacher. Yeah.
Another question?
My name is Vivian from National Museums of Kenya. So we've also been doing some virtual learning, especially when COVID broke out. But most of our virtual learning, because it was a whole new aspect in Kenya, before we used to do physical learning. But the one that we did was Zoom learning, which was live stream. It was a real life, a live stream, just like you explained, where we had a guided tour from a real guide, or meet the scientists or other interactive programs by the educators. But now, the challenge that we have, because again I said it's a very new aspect in Kenya, is developing digital content for our museum audiences. We really don't, we are trying to develop that, but we really don't know how to do it. So probably if you can explain to us, probably if there's an app that can guide us, or how we can be able to develop something that will be engaging to our audiences. And then you have really very good presentations. So is it possible to get them, probably send them via? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for the question. I think in terms of coming out with digital tools, we are also learning along the way. I think this COVID really pushes up the learning curve a lot. I think if you want to look at developing something engaging for students, we really have to work with the schools, if not the Ministry of Education, to understand what is their learning need. I think for us, to really make something engaging for students is to create that kind of relevance to their curriculum. Because a lot of times, I think we feel that youngsters don't really appreciate history and heritage. They feel that there's something very far away. So if we can create that relevance through that curriculum, then they will be engaged. Because no choice, right? Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Joanne. It's Jenny Seung from the Chester Beauty in Dublin. I think it follow on from my colleague in Kenya. high expectations from our audiences when something so slick has been produced. When we went into lockdown, we were doing homemade videos on mobile phones, and budgets are getting really tight. Singapore is excelling in IT and games. How does one do this on a budget? Because, you know, it's fantastic. Even someone's example as well. How do countries that have no money do something similar on the budget?
Thank you for your presentation. I have a question actually for both of you ladies. We've done similar virtual, not similar, same thing about quality. We did a lot of telephone videos. You start with that, you know, and then see what happens. But my question is, one, did you do this program connecting yourself directly to the students, or did you do it through the teachers in classrooms? That's part of it. In other words, do kids at home go into this? Or is it something that's happened through the direction of the teachers? And yeah, I'll leave it at that. But it's the other situation that we've come up with in Costa Rica is that we have a very big imbalance between private and public schools, between rural areas and central areas, of people who don't have sufficient broadband. They just don't have enough internet to get into these virtual programs, and they don't have enough time on their telephones, and it's very expensive. And so I don't know if you've had those kind of situations and how you've dealt with them. Thank you.
I think first and foremost, this was done through the school, so it was a school request. Because by then when we did this program, the students were able to go to school. So as you can see from the image here, you can see that the students are actually in class. So that helps to overcome that broadband personal device issue. Also partly because in schools you're not allowed to bring your mobile phones. Yeah. So basically it was something like this, where you have the laptop and then it was facing the students, and that's how they enjoyed the program. So the guide was flash big on the screen kind of thing. We do understand it's a little bit difficult to engage the students because the guide is here and the students there, or whatever they do, we don't really know and can't really see from here. So we actually engage the teachers to help us, so that when the guide posts some questions, the teacher will be there to ask the students, tell me what's the answer, and then the teacher will have to input the answer. Yeah, so that's how we did the engagement. Yeah, but I think your question about that kind of accessibility, we do face it as well. Yeah.
I would like to make a remark about these programs, just for you to know that technology has nothing to do for us about our judgment on best practices programs. Don't think that because the others have more technology, they are going to win, and you, because you're doing things with just pencils and paper, it's not going to work. What we're really looking at, and Margarita is on the jury with me last time, what we're really looking at is the quality, of the process, the education process. It has nothing to do with the type of techniques that you're using. So just be very quiet about the thing.
The question?
Yeah.
One of the recurring themes in the conference was the theme of inclusiveness. In my country, there are a lot of schools which are in far-fetching rural areas where technology that needs access to the internet cannot be used. So I just wanted to suggest that, are you able to develop maybe a CD or a flash drive which a museum educator can move with to the rural area where it doesn't need any Wi-Fi, because we cannot ignore the cost implications of technology. And because there are costs, we have to think of other ways to include people who cannot access the internet and these programs given the circumstances. So it would be a very good idea to produce or develop maybe a CD or a flash drive that can be carried around, which is portable and can be carried and does not need advanced technology, because you just need a player and a TV screen.
Thank you for that.
And I just want to say one other thing very quickly. One of the workshops this afternoon is on the program that we've done in Costa Rica, where we faced severe challenges. And I would like to invite all of you, please come, because we're going to have a presentation, and then we're breaking down into 3 groups with questions to see how we can improve our program. And anybody else who would like to join, it's something that we really want to share this and use it as a tool, because we face those problems. We don't have, all of us, all of the luck that you've had to be able to do something like this. So it would be great to share that. And I think it's at 2 o'clock this afternoon.
The next happening, Harani Muhammad of the Penang State Museum Board of Penang, Malaysia, presents her program Talking Object Seen Through a Young Age.
Mr. Jacob, want me to try this one first? Shall I?
Hi, I'm Harani Muhammad from Penang, North State in Malaysia. Before I start, I would like to say thank you to the panel of jury, SECA Best Practice Award, for choosing my paper, and also to all my fellow colleagues, and also the chairman of the board. My boss is here, Mr. Yusunin, and all the delegates from Malaysia and Singapore and Philippines, and everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. In my national language, we say Selamat Tengah Hari, Bonjour à tous. And before we start, I would like to say my presentation has nothing to do with the technology, so calm down. So it's just on paper, pens, and it can be applied anywhere in a part of the world. Thank you. Okay, it is called Silang Budaya. Silang Budaya means Silang is a cross. Budaya is culture. So every time I will mention Silang Budaya because it's a branding, and that is number 2. I have started this project in 2016, which is called number 1, and this is the second edition. The first one, it's an experimental project which I did with 5 museums around Malaysia. Collaboration. The first time ever it had collaboration between more than 1 museum. Normally it's 1-to-1. This is 1-to-5. It's about the performing art. So the second one, it is called Talking Objects Seen Through Young Eyes, whereby this happened by accident. As a director and also senior curator in a museum, you know, I always put myself on field. I always like to watch how my audience behave through the CCTV, and I will just walk through. And whereby in a career of 20 years in a museum, as a curator, we tend to preach whenever that we have a guided tour. I know this is going the normal way, we will preach. I'm telling that, okay, this painting is about this, he's wearing black, he's wearing this. And as the ages are going through, and our young one, Gen Z, I would call them, when they start to question, it's not that they're being rude, it's just they have opinion of their own. It's not black, it's dark blue. And when we examine the thing, it is dark freaking blue, not black. So, you know that the founder of Georgetown, the nine, is Francis Light, Captain Francis Light. And his son established in Adelaide called William Light. His name is William Light. So when we do this, one of my young junior curator, first day of job, you know, telling about the founder of Georgetown as Francis Light, blah, blah, blah. And the group of teenagers from school, so Francis Light and the son is William Light. What about the son of Francis Light and William Light? So they start to question. And my young curator on his first day of job, he got freaked out and he said, it's traffic light. And he go, torchlight. And the kid said, no, it's not. I Googled it, it's not there. But during our time, we would just simply nodded our head and believe that's the name. So that's triggered me on that part, whereby slide. Okay, this is Silang Budaya, cross culture, talking object through young eyes. So it's a different norm, seeing the object in a different way of our youngsters. Click this. Okay, who sees what? So I tried this experimental back at home. My dad is 70 years old, and my daughter at that time, this project started in 2018. She was 8. So I want to see the perspective of a different generation these things. It's like in our collection. So I told my dad, we are artist family. My dad is also an artist. I'm also a practicing artist. And I told my daughter as well, let's draw chicken. So this is a 70-year-old man who draw. Margarita, and you're younger than that. My dad is way much older than you. So with the rooster, you know, the generation, I'm sure your generation would paint like this or draw like this. With the rooster, with the chicken, with the baby chick. So when I draw chicken, my generation born in 1970s, 60s, 70s, 80s as well, we just draw like that. Okay, that's represent chicken. You don't need the whole rooster and everything. So this is our chicken. So when it come to my daughter, she was 8. Okay, her name is Nene Su. Nene Su, draw mommy a chicken. There you go. I'm sure all your kids, your grandchild, this is their chicken, right? So it's the same goes to our collection. When you're talking about painting, you have vessel, you have crown, they have opinion and see things differently. So we can't go and preach for them to accept what we been taught or our opinion only. That, okay, this is where I come up with Silang Budaya too. It's about talking objects, seeing through their eyes. Alright? We seem to underestimate our young, I would say. Even in our office, you have those kids who was born in late 90s who work with us. We tend to rely and ask them about the technology, how to use it, even a simple app, how to download things, how to download software. You know, where else it should be the other way around, but things move, things change. So that is why I want to do this. Embrace a new role as a curatorial hub, breaking away from all the tradition of being mere static institution. We don't want to be static anymore. Yes, we have caption, but our caption let explain something which is simple. A year, acquisition, medium, or who donated it. I think that's bad. And of course, to teach, to reach our young audience, this is the way that we can get to convince them to visit our museum. And not just that, I'm sure because this is SECA, education is our core. But how do we engage them? We tend to target schools, youngsters, art students, literature. I go in a normal, non-normal way, which is against the usual way that we do, which I will explain. Who was my target audience? Who did I engage with? Alright, so there are 5 states this time who has collaborated with me. From the East Coast, the Museum Pahang. This is my museum, National Art Gallery, and this is Selangor, which is the center of Kuala Lumpur, and another northern state in Malaysia. Oops, sorry. Okay. So the objective for this project of Silang Budaya 2 is to expose who they are and enable to debate and look arise by closely our collection again to establish the stronger link. Of course, to enable creative practitioners to create their own response to the object and the history, bringing object story to life. Okay, no teacher involved. Okay, that's weird, huh? Okay, The teacher were there just to supervise and sit at the corner, take attendance. That's all. Okay, of course, it can't be done with the involvement with a group of people. Coordinator, the facilitator, and the participant. Who are they? Okay. Coordinator, all right, of course, as a museum staff, we have to be there to assist them, not to tell them and preach about the collection, because we need them to make the product based on their appreciation to something. Of course, we were there to help and assist to provide them things that they need. Of course, museum staff were there, but of course, we don't much involve my curator in front line, because we don't want them to drive these students to tell them what to do. This is supposed to be that way, that road I named because of this fellow. No. And facilitator, instead of getting their teacher, we get the education background, which is none with the historical, not history teacher, art teacher, anything that relate in the science or museum world or art background. We get a facilitator, which is, this is a collector, not an art collector, he is a chef. Oh, this is my case, chef. So other state, they select somebody which is a non-museum practitioner, not even a donor, not even a historian, not even a collector, to sparkle the new conversation, right? Okay, cool. Okay, of course, the participant. We select students of age 14 and 16. This is no restriction. The reason why I select 14 and 16 is because in Malaysia, these are the kids who are not involved in the major exam schools. So they are 14 and 16. So the involvement, instead of choosing school which is an elite school, suburban school, disabled student, or art student, bright student, so I purposely choose vocational student. Vocational student, they are students who study automotive, automobile, engineering, electrical, something which is not in our museum line that we would choose for them to come. These are students actually who has a skeptical to go to the museum because they're from the engineering background, they're doing the plumbing things, they're studying about engine of a motorbike, cars, and doing plumbing, vocational. So we engage them. We want to know what are the interpretations. You know, when you take an art student or literature student, they're super smart, as I would say. They would talk about a lot, and sometimes it's even like something that they trigger or explain back what we said. So these are very genuine students from various states that involved. Did I like? Back please. After that? Yeah. Okay. No, next.
Next.
Next. Not back, next.
This one.
Next one.
Next one.
Cool. All right. Okay. So 5 museum select their own object, which is in my case, in my museum, Penang, we have this called Etiquette, a tiffin carrier. Okay. These are the objective why, and also the subject is the participant. As I mentioned in my objective just now, the center of this project for them to select. So each museum who participated, 14 to 16 years of age, 15 of them, they need to select their own collection. Meaning that, of course, this one assisted by the museum. We know what our best collection, and we give one. And then the facilitator will explain accordingly, not us. And then the student has to go on and do research in their own way. Of course, kids nowadays, like I said, we don't have to underestimate them. We don't have to tell them, okay, you go here, no. They know what to do, they know where to go. They're very self-sustainable. All right. I try to click next. Oh, this one next? Okay. All right. So, as you can see, it only took me about 8 weeks. Of course, this is because they have a school holiday. And all this happened in 2018 and 19 BC. Not before century, it's before COVID. BC stands for before COVID. So it happened before COVID. And so, of course, I said, of course, all museum, participating museum, I gave them framework. Okay, you have to have this, you have to have this, you have to have this. Of course, the museum know what to do. They assist this student. No teacher involved. Even when the teacher tried to preach, I said, sit down, just watch your student and make sure they are alive and not hurt themselves with the tools that they're going to use. So, of course, icebreaking project, just 1 week, and then data collection. The kids go and research themselves, and they come back and they collect the new object, and then, of course, they are the one who did the curatorial setting. the display, right? And the presentation. This is amazing. Right. Of course, the ice-breaking session, partly the breaker about is about for them to visit the site, and then interpretation. As a museum practitioner and also facilitator, we just explain what is this thing, what is it for, and a little bit background. We did not drive them to believe and take everything that we have in our caption. Alright? And he's a chef. He collect this, and from the perspective of chef, because Tiffin is a carrier of the food, so he explained from his point of view. And then of course, this is the best part, they need to create their own object. As you can see, they are from the plumbing school, and piping are involved. No technology, no software, nothing. Alright? No tiger running around as well. So, then they have like 2 weeks to come up with a prototype. They call it prototype. You know, prototype, it's a word that we as a museum people don't actually use. So the vocational student teach me some word which is, I would say, bombastic. A prototype. So this is another museum from Selangor. This is the process that they did, alright? Because they need to set up for installation and preparing for their temporary exhibition. And of course, they need to do a presentation. This is what happened in Selangor, in Kuala Lumpur, and this is in northern state of Perak, and of course, this is in National Art Gallery and my place. So it built their confidence to speak in public. Actually, yes, they do. Schools nowadays, they do presentation very much. It's just for them to stand in a platform, in a roof of a museum and art gallery. It is something which is a taboo for them before, so they become very comfortable, and it gave a very, I would say, a satisfaction feel, and also confident for them to do, and also explain and express this to most of their friends. And the end result, I will share with you what happened to these boys and girls now. Okay, this is the timeline. Okay, 2017, 18, and 19 BC, before COVID, and this is during COVID, and 2022 AD, after COVID, AC. So this has happened here. We have post-mortem of the previous, and these are the process, I would say. I don't mind sharing this, it's online. Jacob can send to everyone. What are the process? I'm happy to share. No cost charges. Okay, the documentation, and then after the whole thing, the advertisement, and we even come with the publication, the exhibition, and we managed to tour in Malaysia, and we got stuck here. We're supposed to look for a venue internationally in Asian country, anywhere to have this. This one got stuck because COVID happened, but we managed to do our publication, which is this one. Alright, and also of course it's online. You just scan the QR code thing. Okay, that's the thing. For Penang, this is our collection, the artifact. These are the prototype designed by the vocational students in Penang. When they did the presentation, actually this one you can open and it's like a step. I asked them, why do you have that? And it's a hand carry thing, waterproof. And I said, why do you have like that? And it's warm. And I said, is it for food? They said, no, we can live without food, but we cannot live without power bank, USB, and as well our phone. So it's not meant for food anymore. It's for the phone. So things are different, yeah? Oh my God. I clicked too fast. All right. And here in the Perak State Museum, another northern part of Penang, Etiquette is an embroidery casing, I would say, to put your jewelry, ring, pendant and everything. But they built a prototype such as this, where you have a compartment and actually you have a place where you can charge your phone, USB. Yep, as you can see. And without banishing or remove our tradition on also the culture of this Etiquette, they built Etiquette here and this one. And it's like iron on. So simple. Okay, it's a carry with handle. Just now with the actual Etiquette, there's no handle. And this is a kite. It's called wow. And also wow, actually it's wow kapal. It's a ship kite. So they turned this into a lantern because when you fly kite, it's too high for you to see. So they put it on their hand because you cannot touch. So one of them create with the hand. And also this is a side table lamp where it glows in the dark and the kite will flow inside. The light, the effect. So you don't need a vendor to do this for you. Kids can do this. You know, and this is another collection called Terenang in east coast of Malaysia. White Mountain water vessel. It's a vessel like this where you dump everything, your food, the gravy and everything. So they make this. It's a compartment where you can have this with the handle and it's expandable. Kids do this. You don't need vendor, you don't need a contractor, you don't need interior designer, you don't need a product designer. They are 14 years old. So this is another collection of painting. The National Art Gallery has challenged how they're going to come up with a prototype. So the expression of kids are different when they see the painting. They create, what do we call that? A diorama on the expression, and there's a story. The interpretation for the past 20 years of this collection are different, but kids interpreted it different way, which is very propaganda. Things that they see. Right? They even tried to rename the title of the painting. We said no because the artist is still alive. We don't want to get sued. So, share a bit of the video. This one done by the student, which this is not in the criteria where they need to come up with a video. But 14 years old, they have phone all the time with them. So they made this. You don't need your IT officer to do. You don't need your designer to do. So this is done by the Pahang State Museum and they hand it over to us during the presentation. So they made it themselves. So they're vocational student, automotive. So they made this. It was 2018 and 19. And during that time, we don't have TikTok. If it's not, it will be on TikTok. Definitely. So they go for the site visit. You don't have to engage a bus or anything. They will just waste and appear on the space. So they met everything. So these are the vessels that they produce. You don't see teachers here anymore. It's easy job for a teacher actually. Okay, it shows what they do. Yeah, this is what they come up with their own computer, their own software, their own apps. This is the actual Terenang, the vessel, and this is the practitioner, the expert who using it. Of course, they need to go way back there. Rather than you have your collection, explain, okay, Terenang has been done like that, or the video that shows, no, they go on site. They want to go on site. They want to see it for themselves. And they come back and come up with a totally different object. But the function and the usable, the design are still there. It a continuity and evolve. It an involvement, I would say. So this is Pahang Museum, which is very nice that you guys should visit as well. Next slide. Yeah, this is during their presentation. This is the curatorial part. They managed to do an exhibition on their own. Automotive student, yeah, not interior. Next. And they're proud and happy to show. Okay, this is us. This was me. And I went all the museum whenever they have a presentation because I did the program. This is in Penang. This is National Art Gallery, Kuala Lumpur. And this is in Penang, Penang and Selangor. Next slide. Okay, of course, we come up with the merchandise for something to remember for them and also to engage them. This is how we type with them. So this is not for sale. We give every student. So whenever they travel, we have 5 states. So whenever that, let's say Penang have a presentation by the Penang students, the other 4 states will come and see how the presentation. We bring them to the Kuala Lumpur to see other students doing presentation. So they're happy to wear all this and carry this. They're doing a free advertisement for us anyway. Next slide. Of course, this is the Technological. Of course, it's a promotion. We put it online so everybody can see. Next. Of course, newspaper cutting, it went bombastic and so on. Cutting edge of what we did, the Ministry of Education approach about this program. Next. Yep, the book that I showed, we come out with a book. This is after the pandemic. Next one. Yeah, we're looking for international relation. to have this project. Actually, you can do. It's not that we want to bring our own, but I can share and you can start on your own as well. Next one. Yeah, Southeast Asia, Europe, South America, anywhere, Africa, no problem. Next. And yeah, this is my chairman over there, Mr. Yuswin. Sir, can you please stand up? Flew all the way from Penang just to support me, State Assemblyman. And yeah, that's me. Next one. Next one. Of course, you can find it. Okay, terima kasih. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Question?
Can we see how to get in touch with Karima? How can we get in touch with you?
No problem. I'll give you my contact number later.
Thank you.
But we are on the email and everything here. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
The question? No.
No questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next, Shani Yen of the Han Shaolin Museum of Shanghai, Xin Rezan, pardon. This is present her program, Here Come Shazan, a 2,000-year-old beach.
Good morning, everyone. It's really a great honor for me to standing here and introduce our session to you. First, I'd like to express my thanks to the SICA, to the jury of the best practice, especially the President O'Neill and the Secretary Margaret, who gave me a lot of help so that my visit to Prague is possible. And also all of you who have presented here today to meet with Jianshan, thank you very much. My topic today is Here Comes Jianshan, a 2,000-year-old beauty. And Cheng Yanni, or you call it Yanni Cheng, comes from China, Xi'an City, Shanxi Province. Before the introduction of my program, I'd like to give a very brief introduction of my museum. Since our museum was built on the site of an Asian royal emperor complex, Muslim complex, about 2,000 years old. As we can see, this is a map of the whole complex. It covers an area of 200 hectares. We can see the emperor and empress graveyard. They located separately. And we can see a main road leading to Sima Gate. It is the most important road in the graveyard. It was linked with the underground tomb passage for the emperor's spirit to go through. And there are a large area of satellite graveyards, or we call it accompanied tombs of some high officials. Asian people thought that it is great honor to be buried near emperor. So this area are some tombs of high officials and great chancellors, generals, noble peoples. Altogether, there are more than 5,000 tombs in this area, and most of them are family tombs. In the eastmost of this mausoleum is a site of Yangling town. In ancient times, the emperor liked to build such a town near his mausoleum to prosper the local economy. Also, it acted as a barricade to safeguard the central capital. It is about 20 kilometers to the mausoleum. And up till now, we have opened 4 areas to the visitors. First is the Archaeological Exhibition Hall, which is a 2-story building, a traditional museum with more than 2,000 cultural relics, all of them about 2,000 years old. Showcase the archaeological excavation of the complex during the past 40 years of archaeological works. Also, we have the protection hall of the secondary barricades of the emperor's tomb. We can see this is a map of the emperor's tomb. The square in the middle is emperor's mount, but the chamber itself has not been excavated, and the emperor was buried underneath. There are enclosed walls around the emperor's tomb. We can say there are some secondary burial holes around the mound, but inside the wall. There are altogether 81 burial pits. They are the burial things for the emperor. Archaeologists know their contents, and through the drilling and excavation, we only excavated 10 of them in the Red Square. And the protection wall was built on the side of these 10 burial pits. You can see this is a protection wall. What is very special about this protection wall is that we separate the visitors and the site into two different temperature of humidity level and temperatures. The humidity level and the temperatures inside the site mimic the original environment before they were excavated, which was ideal for the cultural relics protection. And the technique was come from Slovenia. So the glasses, the technology, and we cooperate with Slovenia. As I just told you, there are enclosed walls around the emperor's mound with a gate tower on each side. Since the south gate tower with the red square, inside the red square, is a one will preserve, so we built a museum on the site. Inside the museum, we made a curation and exhibition concerning the history of the development of the gate tower. And we also have the site of ritual construction. This is the ancient temple. At that time, this temple was used to pay homage, to make sacrifices for the emperor. Up till now, this poor area open to the public. And the archaeological works is still ongoing. And here comes Shanshan. My presentation includes 3 parts: the planning, the imposition, and the evaluation. In the Western Han Dynasty, people believed in the afterlife. This emperor belongs to the Western Han Dynasty, an important period in Chinese history, about more than 2,100 years old. Speaking of at that time, people believed in afterlife. So the concept is that to attend to the living as if to the dead. So they pay a lot of attention to the building of his eternal resting place, and it is a state project. So the emperor began to build his tomb almost directly after he came to the throne, and it has spent a lot of time and money on it. So the archaeologists and experts concluded that the mausoleum is a simple miniature of the ancient capital, reflecting the Zen culture. Speaking of the culture, it was composed, include 2 parts, those technical ones and those valuable ones. Technical sectors refers to those material ones and objective ones that produced by the people, while the value sectors refers to those immortal and subjective ones that produced during the process of the production. As far as Shanshan we choose, it contains both the technical sectors and value sectors. We can say the clothes he wears is the most traditional clothes at that time, which is called the deep clothes, because it is a long robe, cover all the body up with no buttons, only belt to tie it. So it is called deep clothes, in Chinese called deep clothes. And he sitting still is very traditional at that time. There is no bench or chair at that time. So people just kneel down and sit on their own heels, but with an upright back. It's a very traditional sitting still at that time. And his gestures, bowing gestures, showcasing the Zen etiquette values at that time. So his hairstyles and his makeup, his dress-ups, so the aesthetic value at the Western Han Dynasty. To make our program more appealing, we also choose other figures related to this one, including a female one. To make the children's visit to the museum more appealing, we designed such a booklet, small booklet, with more than 10 quizzes relating to the Han costumes and Shanshan and the ancient etiquette for children to learn to answer the question during the visiting. We called it Adventure with Shanshan. The children can get it free of charge from the service center, and visiting the museum will answer the question. After that, they can check the answer in the service center, and if the reception rate reaches more than 80%, he will get a chalk with Shanshan's image on it to show that you have passed the adventure. As far as Shanshan concerned, we altogether introduced, designed 6 programs to let children know about the Asian culture, namely color painting, jigsaw, paper folding, cosplay, Babi Shanshan, and Yi Shanshan. Color painting is a traditional game and a basic art lesson. We can say this kid is playing a kite with Shanshan's image. After painting, he can fly the kite. And we can see a plaster Shanshan, which can be painted and take home before or after painting. And we also made some Shanshan with decorations, with hairpins and earrings for them to know the dress code at that time. During the process, people's understanding of Shanshan was deepened, their emotion released and established. And it is a game to train their concentration and creativity and imagination. Jigsaw is a traditional game. It was made of cloth. It was designed like a wedding photo. I put them separately to make it more clear. Originally, they were in the same frame. And the clothes they wear are the most traditional and typical clothes at that time. Same with Shanshan, and as the most important wedding dress at that time. The male image is just like the one we have just met. It is an image of a very brave soldier. We called it Yang Yang. And altogether, more than a dozen pieces was made to finish this jigsaw. So a lot of patience and concentration are needed. And it is a game to train children's understanding, the logic thinking, and the detailed observation, things like that. And they can know some detailed knowledge of the costume during this process. And the paper folding is another game to train concentration and detailed consideration. Altogether, we made 9 costumes, 4 for male and 5 for female. It was divided into different parts according to the structure of the costume, including the collar, the sleeves, the upper garment, and the skirt hem, just like its structure. To finish it, 5 steps are needed, namely painting, cutting, folding, staking, and decking. That we can say that is when children finish it, they are very. It is a game to train their detailed observation and independent thinking. And here comes cosplay. Cosplay is closely related with Chinese traditional festivals, and most of the activities were held in the traditional Chinese festivals. For example, this is children. They make an image with they make mooncake with Shanshan's image during the Mid-Autumn Festival. And here is children sewing a sachet with Shanshan's image in the Dragon Boat Festival. And here is a picture that children have hand banquet during the Spring Festival. Most of these activities are closely related with the festival custom at that time. and they were related with Shanshan, both in their clothes and the images. And this is a game that to train children to help them establish sympathy and overcome the inner terror and release inner potential. And inspired by the popularity of Barbie doll, we designed some Barbie Shanshan. We can say they're very cute, including the details, their earrings, their hairpins, their shoes, and it was handmade by an expert in the traditional clothes making, hand making. Yes, and he was good at embroidery. So we can see are very cute. Children can dress them up and make a hairstyle for them and then play with it. During the process, their understanding of the Han costume deepened, and it is a game to train their operation skills. And here comes Yi Shanshan. We are not as good as what Singapore has produced a very simple game. You can say only 3 kinds of Yi Shanshan are invented up till now. Here is a magic card. It looks like a traditional card, but with a QR code. After painting, children can scan the card, scan the code to get a 3-dimensional picture of Shanshan, and it can be zoomed for details and with a vocal introduction of these artifacts. And here is a magic mirror, which overlapping the real virtual reality with a real image. The participants, we designed 4 clothes, 2 for women, 2 for male, including an armor. The participant can stand in front of the mirror and choose the ideal clothes. And after done, the participant's image with the costume chosen will appear on the mirror, and it can be printed as a souvenir. And Yi Shanshan need a VR technology to bring the children back to the ancient times, where they can play together with Shanshan and learn some ancient etiquette. And after playing all these games, children can work into the Shanshan shop with a lot of souvenirs related to Shanshan. We can see many comic books related to Shanshan, and some stationeries, and also T-shirts, bags, and decorations, daily utensils. Because of their unique design and cute image and cheap price, it was very popular among the visitors, especially the younger ones. Second part is the imposition. The project was get great support from the Shanxi Provincial Administration of Cultural Relics, which is our upper authority. Give us most support in money and in the finance and in the techniques. And speaking of our teams, it was included those from the museum and those outside the museum. Outside the museum, we have 2 professors from the Xi'an University of Polytechnology, who is an expert in the traditional costume research, and an expert good at traditional clothes making, as I just told you, and a digital company. Maybe something wrong with the type. No, it's not your problem. It's the showcase, yes. And to make the program more practical and real to the children. So before it was planned, we signed a contract with a non-compulsory education school adjacent to our museum, and our educators went to the school to have class related to the costume and the Shanshan and the etiquette at that time, to let children know the very brief knowledge at that time and to know their preference. And we also maintain good relations with other schools around within 5 km radius of the museum. And our educators will go there frequently to do some pre-investigation before our design. After about 1 year, our program, the outline of the program was basically finished. And in 2019, we made an exhibition with the clothes, with the hand costumes, and we also make a questionnaire related to the exhibition to know the needs of the children, and it helps us a lot in the choosing of the costume and the design of the activities. And we can see here are different dress. This for emperor, this for empress, and that for dancer, and that was for high official. And the last part is the evaluation. We designed 3 questionnaires for different groups, for the teachers, for the parents, and for the children, to know their suggestions about the program. And the teacher's questionnaire, paper folding and jigsaw top the teacher's favorite activities, while the parent choose a cosplay and the jigsaw the best. The children prefer cosplay and Yi Shan Shan the best. The difference is that those below 10 years old prefer cosplay, while above 10 years old prefer the Yi Shan Shan. And the Yi Shan Shan dominates the male children's questionnaire, while female students prefer the cosplay. The questionnaire shows us we need some improvement in 2 activities, that is color painting and paper folding. Color painting suggestion mainly includes 3 parts. First is some background sketches added to Shan Shan to make it more appeal to life. And the second is some more case design to make it more interesting. As far as these 2 parts are concerned, the talents are the top priority. Since we have not enough art talents in our museum, so we plan to sign a contract with Xi'an University of Fine Art to get some help. And we plan to recruit some volunteers in this case, so to make this more appealing. As far as the last suggestion, digital virtual reality ingredients added to the program. We have a digital company to realize it is not difficult. As far as paper folding are concerned, 2 suggestions are closely related. The first one is a simplified version designed, and the second one is that more types of costumes with different patterns and different dress design. Okay. So since we have experts in this field, so these tools are not difficult. Frankly speaking, we have finished the design, and in the near semester, we will put it into market to do some improvement. And our Shan Shan Cap has got a lot of awards from both provincial and state levels, and this time international levels. It's really a great honor, and it has become a very famous program of our museum. Later we will continue fine-tuning the problem to make it more perfect, even more perfect. This concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
Question?
I think we have no time for the question. I'm sorry, but we are already rather late. Sorry, Annie.
No problem.
Sorry. So I would like now to go to the official part of the ceremony, which is the handing of the certificates. Oh, I'm glad to see that Delphine is still there. I know you have a plane to take. So I'm very happy. Could I have the
One by one.
No, together. Together. Yeah, I'm going to give you we're missing one. We're missing two. Here. Sorry. So I'm very happy one more time, one more year. Yes, why don't you come back? To give the Best Practice Award of SICA to people of numerous countries and types of museums. I would like to underline that this year we had a lot of contribution from good contribution from Asia, and I'm very satisfied of that. So Europe, good. So I would like to give the award to Delphine. Here she is. And then to Sakmun. And then to Yeet Singh. And then to Hadriani. And then to Yanni. Congratulations to all of you. So now I suppose we all need to have lunch.
No, just a moment.
Just a moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. So maybe you can.
But you can stay here for now.
So it's up to you. Okay, so in a short moment, the medal of J. Comenius will be presented, which our institution awards to important domestic and foreign personalities or institutions that have contributed to the development of research in the field of the history of education or have helped to spread the legacy of J. Comenius. Now let me very shortly introduce International Council of Museums, which is a non-governmental organization, as you know for sure, of museum professionals with the aim of exchanging scientific information at international level, developing professional standards, adopting rules and recommendations, and implementing collaborative projects. Icom has some 30,000 members from 137 countries. Incredible. And it includes, for sure, over than 30 international committees. Each international committee is dedicated to the study of a particular type of museum or museum discipline. And one such international committee is SICA. The Committee for Education and Cultural Action, of course, and with more than 1,000 members from around 85 countries, okay. SICA is also one of the largest committees within Icom. Its members are professionals working in various sectors of the museum field or in institutions related to this field who are interested in research and practice in the field of education and, of course, museum education, public support and participation. We really appreciate your activities, amazing activities, which were told here some moments ago. And that is also a reason, and I can see the connection with this matter, that National Pedagogical Museum and Library of J. Comenius would like to apply for membership in SICA.
President, I can award you a medal of Comenius. I am happy, and you deserve this medal really, because SICA is really very important for society, for improving society. So it's you, and it's a diploma with explaining, and also you have a small book about the most important text from the most famous philosophical work of Comenius. So it's yours. Thank you.
I must say I was very impressed to come here for two reasons. First, because I knew that Comenius was a high figure of education, and secondly, because I felt I knew so very few things about him. So I'm very glad we came, and I'm very glad that you consider that museum education is part of what Comenius did, and that's one of the reasons why I was so impressed by the question of enjoyment in the 17th century. I mean, it's just extraordinary to think. And I would like to add two things. I had some of my students work on a history of museum education in the last year, and one of them was working on Russia, and I found out with her that a lot of things that like experience, emotion and everything was considered as very important in museum education at the end of the 18th century in Russia, with really, you know, people that wrote about that and everything. So I suppose we have a lot of things to learn, and I'm very happy that we came to that basic place of Comenius to know.
I also can add, as the President said, in Russia, it's the oldest department who was interested in Comenius. So it was